So Sam had the majority of the connection to the organization here.
More than majority, all of it, 100%, 100% of the stake was all invested into Sam. So,
which seems to have paid off massively.
Yeah, big time, really big time.
Yeah. Seems like there was a real correct decision on who to bet your chips on in this situation.
Yeah, I think the roster lock was 5 p.m. my time, 5 p.m. Pacific, I think, 8 p.m. EST for NA. And I got a message from UV at 4:18 p.m. So 42 minutes before the deadline. I learned that I've also lost my flex support. And then not I don't know how much, not much longer later, we all got released. So I just want to stress to people the timeline here.
Do comms for officials. Don't say any naughty words. Maybe Americans keep the comms up. It was fun. It was way more fun than any. Okay, it was more fun than any Overwatch League broadcast for the past 2 years. No, but it's different when it's the players and people who are actually involved. You know, like when Flats is co-streaming it, he don't give. He just does a bit of this and then it's done. You know.
Let's go.
Post bomb.
That's crazy. Call and response.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 16 of Uncoachable. Now, we're joined by a very special guest, Overwatch League champion, Dennis Havelka award winner, a man who everyone holds in pretty high regard, only has positive things to say. But today we're going to find out why bad things happen to good people. Our guest today is McGravy. Welcome, McGravy. And I think the best place to start is obviously what I think everyone might be expecting you to talk about in the NA Rostermania situation that went down before the NA OWCS Swiss Stage.
Yeah. People only care what happened in the past week, so I'm more than happy to talk about what happened in the past week.
I slept through it all. I just woke up one day and people were like, "I can't believe you've missed all this shit." And I was like, "Oh, yeah." Every single player has changed. Every single team. A few people have been cancelled for extreme racism. Just a classic day in, the new Overwatch.
Take us back to the start then. So the situation before it all goes down is you're essentially with the Winthrop team, or the Winthrop collegiate team plus Seeker. Collegiate posts are looking for org thing. And then how much is this when M80 come in, or how does it go from the looking for org tweet?
Well, it basically started whereas I didn't really have a team, and I had gotten the sense that if I didn't attach my name to anything, that I was probably fucked. So I just found anybody that was willing to take me on, and I was just I begged Seeker and Sam. I just got on my hands and knees and I groveled and I begged, and I was like at least let me just put my name on this. You don't have to hire me, but I need something. And yeah, I think Sam ended up talking to M80, and I don't know how it happened. He kind of just wiggled his fingers around and waved his hand, and M80, we were in a meeting with M80. Yeah, I couldn't tell you how it happened because nobody ever talked to me about anything. So you're asking me questions that I don't really know, honestly.
It's the Rack Attack episode all over again. He doesn't know.
I wasn't in the room.
Unbelievable. He wasn't there. So Sam had the majority of the connection to the organization here.
More than majority, all of it, 100%, 100% of the stake was all invested into Sam. So,
which seems to have paid off massively.
Yeah, big time, really big time.
Seems like there was a real correct decision on who to bet your chips on in this situation.
Well, it's awkward because I groveled and I begged to be a part of it, and then I can't just I can't try and rug pull all the power from Sam.
Gumba would.
Yeah, Gumba would.
Gumba would have shot Sam in the street before Sam shot himself in this hypothetical situation.
Does the org have any contact with any of the rest of you before this then? Does they have any interest in all of Sam's friends that he's pulling in, or are any contracts signed at this point as maybe also key?
Well, we had the meeting, the very first meeting. It's the first time I ever talked to them, right? So it was the head of esports, Psycho, and then the CEO, Marco's his name. We talked, and then there was this kind of lull where the players weren't sure if they even wanted to play with the cord that they had already put together. So I had to kind of deal with dealing with like not a mutiny of sorts, but like they wanted to try and upgrade the roster. They wanted to try and upgrade the roster. And I know Sam, he talked to Violet, and apparently they wanted Violet on the team. But again, everything happened through Sam. So the information is probably not 100% accurate, but apparently Violet asked for like 100K a year or
that's reasonable.
Something ridiculous. And I just kind of like brush it off because I figured Violet was going to join the team anyways, no matter the money amount. So we kind of dealt with this issue where like I joined this roster that was already put together, but then I had to like put it back together before we even signed any contracts. So there wasn't any contracts signed until probably like a week before the announcement, I think.
So then, but it's the original roster that signed this contract then, essentially.
There was this big like shuffle where I was supposed to replace somebody and nobody got replaced. But yeah, it was the original roster. Yeah.
I feel like that's how it's gone for all of these orgs. It's like in this new era, like someone gets the connection, you know. Like I was talking to, we'll call them an unnamed source at the very start of Overwatch, and what I did was I said, okay, we've heard good things about you. We want you as coach. So I gave them like a list of like EU players, which I felt would build some sort of super team. But then what this org did was they reached out to the players, you know. And I think one of these players was like Kevster, for example. And then in the conversations with Kevster wasn't necessarily aligned with like, Kevster really wanted, if you want to win, you have to get Koreans. So then the org was a bit like, oh, fuck, this guy wants Koreans. These guys want to play with Europeans. And it kind of like split apart. And then it didn't end up happening to fruition. But that was the same sort of thing with Space Station was like, I had a conversation with them. I sold them my vision for the roster and why I think it would be good. And then everything just kind of happened through me. But I think obviously, like as a coach, it's way better to do that than through a player, especially, you know, racist players. Because I feel like, generally speaking, that like the coach can have at least an element of like unbiasedness with the roster, right? Like he can like pick and choose, whereas the players are always going to be kind of, his position is always safe. They never want to snake them. But it feels like because these orgs don't have like a massive understanding of the Overwatch scene, they just go to one person and kind of let them fill it out 9 times out of 10.
I think it's actually quite surprising that, you know, you say you reached out to an org and then they reached out to the players that you mentioned. I think it's actually pretty surprising that they were like confident enough in their read of the scene to just start talking to the players that you dropped, you know. I think it's definitely like valuable in your negotiations to keep the information that you give to the org a little bit limited, you know, so that then, you know, you have more control in the situation. Yeah. But, you know, the fact that the org you were talking to went and actually reached out to the Euro players and like kind of constructed different teams based on who you floated. I mean, I guess don't give away what players you want to pick up before the org's actually committed to you. But
when they spoke to me, I was still a Maryville guy. So in my head, I was like, I'm probably not leaving. So I thought, listen, I'll just do the honest act because this is the best roster you can build from Europe, in my opinion. If you get this roster, then you probably win. And then they went to talk to Astro, and Astro echoed something similar. And then, like I said, like Kev was like, oh, we can't win without a Korean.
Oh, I want to play with Smurf.
Exactly. So then
that's
all of
exactly
a sudden,
what it sounds like.
That's literally what it was. And then the org's like, oh, Kev doesn't sound very confident we can win without Koreans, but also it's super impossible to get Koreans. And it basically just like fucked the whole deal up, like that sentence. But yeah, I feel like that's it. Like the orgs have no idea about Overwatch. They just get like they get one person and then they kind of build it out from there.
Yeah, I think your unnamed org at least did more research than anything M80 did. I mean, M80 did fuck all. I think M80 signed a team at the point where like Sam talked to the Rainbow Six player. The Rainbow Six player liked them. Sam said, "Hey, Rainbow Six player, go tell M80 to sign us." And M80's like, "Fucking genius! Let's just do it. Let's just go for it." Like, no thought required. I mean, they didn't talk to me even a little bit. No super team talks, no Korean talks. All of it was just like they just seemed happy with what was presented because they didn't know what they were doing.
Do you think they behave like a bit of a tier 2 org in the way that they do all this stuff? Because I mean, I feel like a lot of this stuff, you know, if you've been in esports org for a while, there's like a chain of command, you know, like it's pretty rare for like a player to show up and like construct the team for you. You know, I feel like that's definitely something that maybe, you know, a younger, less experienced esports owner, not familiar with the game of scamming players and taking advantage of everyone and then eventually going bankrupt anyway, because despite it all, it's not worth any money. But yeah, do you feel like M80 is more of like the new org that doesn't have that experience? Because I think it's really weird to build around Sam, you know, like just the first contact, you're the guy.
Yeah, it feels like they have like this like scrappy, like underdog kind of like mentality, like when they do stuff. Yeah, like you said, it's like so weird. Like I feel like if you knew anything about Overwatch, like at this point, I can just throw him on the bus. Like Sam is not your first contact. Like if you're going to NA for an NA super team, Sam was not the first person that you talk to. But yeah, like I don't want to say unprofessional, but they just seem super loose in how they behave, especially towards like staff. It just felt like super disrespectful that like I just won the fucking Overwatch League and they didn't even bother to ask my opinion. They just didn't care. Like whatever was presented to them, they seemed happy with. But they said they were all about winning. So it was super contradictory. I don't know. They're like, yeah, we'll pay for visas. Like we fucking love Koreans. Like if you want to get Koreans on you think Koreans can be on the roster, go for it. But they didn't ever give me an opportunity to do that. So I think they were just chatting shit at that point.
It makes me worry for Pelican's visa because unless, I mean, to be fair, on this podcast, I've demonstrated I actually don't know how the visa process works, but I'm going to do that again. My feeling, if an org says,
this is not legal advice.
Don't worry, we can just fucking get a visa. I'm fairly sure a US work visa, like the P1s required the Overwatch League. So I don't know. My feeling is it might not be as easy as M80 think, which is, yeah, we'll fucking get a Korean visa, no problem. But I've been wrong about visas many times in the past. So, you know, maybe it's still, I still don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, they said they were going to send him to Canada like every other team. We're just going to try and get a Canadian visa and plop him in Toronto or something and play from there. But that's actually a pretty good workaround. Good job, Emma. Yeah. You know what you're doing.
Well done. You know, just pros through and through. Do you think that like the core of players was holding back that roster as well? Because I'd say that like the M80 roster that they have now, you know, Pelican and Spectra, I feel like that's better than what they had before. To be honest,
way better.
Not to be too much of a hawk head, you know, just like hard glazing hawk perma. But you know, just looking at the DPS line, it's like getting Spectra plus Pelican is fucking insane. You know, Sam maybe not in the same caliber like player as Pelican. And then having Lyra just kind of like dicking around in the back line of the roster too, that probably doesn't help your super team prospects. So I don't know. Do you think that like the friendship of that core was just massively holding back the one org that was going to do imports?
Yeah. Again, it's so hard to say because I don't understand how they really put the roster together. I know originally, like, I think Chris can probably attest to this, but like Landon was supposed to be on that team. So like they relied on the friendship, but they were also like conscious of the fact that they didn't want like the AT vibes, but it just ended up being like AT anyways because they're just like accustomed to like just defaulting to AT, I think. But I think the original core included Landon instead of UV.
Yeah, I think it was one of those where like every player would like say, yeah, I'll play with this team if I get an org. And then obviously because our space station deal happened within like 12 hours. Like from my first meeting to getting signed, it was 12 hours, you know, it was like instant. Yeah. And it was like, talk to me. I sold them the vision. They went to talk to the players because Jamie and Sparkle were also maybe like talking to SSG to play for like an NA team. And then they went to them and said, oh, Sparkle, Jamie, like, do you guys want to play with this NA team? I think it was like the Gumba, one of the million Gumba teams.
It was one of the Gumba teams, yeah.
Yeah. Or do you want to play with Chris's team with the Europeans? And then obviously Jamie and Sparkle were like, please, the Europeans. It's like, this is way better. And then obviously Landon said, okay, of course, I'll play with the gang again. But yeah, like I think Landon, like if Orgs moved fastest, maybe they could have got Landon. But I think the second he could have joined the gang, he was always going to join the gang.
Yeah, because I kind of joined on the impression that like I think everybody was like deluded into the fact that SSG was theirs. Like,
yeah,
because I think everybody at some point was like, yeah, man, we're getting SSG. Like SSG's so interested. They were like listing like money numbers, and I was like, listen, I'm just trying to scam some free money here and get a partial roster. So let me just like sneak in here and like snake the coach spot and like give me money.
Gumba was messaging me like because I had the SSG deal like. Low-key knew about, and Gumba was messaging me saying, no, Landon and the NA guys are signing SSG right now. They're signing it right now. And I'm spam messaging Landon like, bro, you fucking snaking us right now. Like, what is happening? And Landon doesn't reply for 2 hours. And I'm like, oh my God, it's actually happening. Like, there's actually so unbelievable. And Landon messaged me, yo, I was at the gym, what's up? And I was like, oh, it's just not fucking happening. Like, there was no like element of this like big snake happening.
Well, the impression of North America was very much that the entire time this off-season was happening, it was just snake after snake after snake, and everyone was willing to essentially betray everyone else if it meant the org spot would be theirs, whatever the org might be.
Yeah, and I don't even want to like shit talk people that do that because there is like no money to go around. Everyone, it's just every man for himself. Like it's a fucking free for all at the moment. Like I would step on so many people that I love and respect just to make some money at the moment. I do not care. Like
yeah.
Well, it's super competitive as well, right? And there's like the number of spots going is a handful.
It's like
so
two
if you're not
orgs
gonna,
per region, basically, right? So if you don't get into that, then you're like, because you're always gonna have power because you can recruit who you want, you know, like you can like also like just build a super team. So if you're not on those, there's no money in prize.
Well, unless you're the original M80 roster who is just happy with, you know, signing what was already constructed.
But there's a reason Chris signed that deal so quickly, ultimately, right? Because you want to lock it down before it goes away or gets another team gets offered or somebody else signs it first.
I mean, it's basically fallen out like as we expected a month or 3 ago, right? Where, you know, like each region has like, you know, 2 at best 3 teams that are like, you know, competitive for like a real win. Lights out, Chrissy. And then, yeah.
Sam's in the room.
Yeah, I'm done. God, look at his palms though. Look at those lovely lines. Ah, yeah.
Someone do a palm reading. Someone do a palm reading. I'm real quick.
Yeah, I'm predicting a second place European finish in the future.
Second?
It's what the palm says.
I wasn't. Don't fucking shoot the messenger, dude. Like I'm just reading your palm.
Right.
Where was I? But yeah, it feels like each region, you know, it's got like 2 or 3 teams that are basically competitive for the top slot, and then beyond there, it's like a little bit of a tier break, middle bracket. But if you're not in those top 2, like there's no money to be earned whatsoever, you know, unless you're working for a college or something. Random example, but yeah, there's basically no money to be earned there at all. So, you know, I think people are definitely getting the dose of realism at this point that it's like, you know, McGravy, when he's offering to step on me for a couple of grand a month, I mean, I'd let him do it for free, just quietly. But, you know, it is basically, that's the state that it's in. I remember Gumba was trying, you know, to have multiple teams in multiple regions. And I think that's genius, you know, because then if you cobble together like, you know, 12 to 16 hours of work per day all the time, then you can basically make a livable wage out of Overwatch again, even if you don't win. But I think Gumba maybe realized that he has such a good team in Europe that he doesn't need to work 2 jobs in order to maybe earn a livable wage come end of year.
I think it's a little bit of psychological warfare with himself though, when he ended up with such a premium EU roster, and then he has to like drag himself out of bed to work with the fucking dredges of NA. Like probably a little bit of self-defeat on his end, I think.
He said to me his original plan at one point was to try and get 2 tier 1 orgs, so an EU1 and NA1, and just do 2 jobs for tier 1 orgs and make, I guess, double the salary.
It's like he's banking so heavily on not making the tournament with one of these 2 rosters though, right? Because if he makes top 3 in both regions, he's coaching against himself. Like it's just such a nonsensical plan.
Blizzard won't allow it, right? Or
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there's no like. I'm not sure actually. I guess there's no fucking coaching restrictions, right? Like, you know.
Surely one of Gumba's dreams is to ultimately coach against himself in some kind of playing chess against yourself kind of metaphor.
Yeah, that could be fun.
Yeah, he's for that. He's not. So he's fully out of NA now, Gumba. Like he's washed his hands with it.
When the Rostermania ended, and I honestly, like at the end, like when I joined WD-40, I was just about like maybe like 60 seconds from saying like I give up. Like I was about ready to throw in the towel. Like I had enough. I was like, I waited 4 months for this shit. Like I'm about to. This is a waste. Like I'll go clean toilets. Like I'll go be a janitor or something. But I joined the WD-40 roster, and it was whatever was left of YFP, and Gumba and Crimson were still there. And Gumba was like, "You're here. I'm fucking gone. Take this team." And I was like, "Okay, whatever, fine."
Fair enough.
Pour some water. I'm not going to pour the water. Change your heart.
Why don't you rustle for fucking paper again, mate?
Ooh.
My webcam fell off.
Subscribe to our Patreon, guys. Our Patreon. Subscribe to it. Thank you, guys. See you next week.
Yeah, perfect. Ad read done. Dude, I don't know how to clip this thing back on.
No, that actually goes hard.
That's actually really
good. Yeah? You want to make that the ad read?
Get it where we ask. I'm not going to.
Alright, I'm sideways.
Yeah. Say not going to pour the bottle of water into the paper rustle, into all of that, into subscribe to Patreon. I think it's a banger.
Yeah, it's actually a class advert. Yeah. Like the timing.
Water pour just for posterity.
Can we talk like the specifics? So MAE and Sam, how long are they talking before? Like you guys were actually signed. Well, you were announced, right? So presumably there was a time when you all signed the contract.
Yeah.
For like a week, maybe.
I could like go back in my email and look at the exact time I like signed.
We don't need specifics on this show. Even the quiz is not really that accurate.
I signed a contract on February 24th.
Okay.
So yeah, like a little bit like above a week, we had signed a contract.
Are you gonna get that week's salary?
No, because I don't think it took. I think it was like there was like a 50. I had to like work like 15 days to like receive a paycheck. So I
you got fired on probation.
I literally received $0 from M80. $0.
Fuck.
Yeah.
How does the Kaluge stuff factor into this as well? Because from what's said, Kaluge is meant to be almost a separate situation from all of this,
Kaluge
right?
signed and then retired within a week.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. Like, you guys keep saying it, like, you guys understand how complex it is, and like, even in my head, it gets all jumbled up because so much shit happened. But like, essentially, we fucking sucked. Like, we started scrimming, we were terrible. Like, no tracer player, just shit. Like, he had to learn Doom. We were like, bro, like, you have to like at least play a little bit of Doom. And so he started learning Doom, and there was a situation that cropped up where there was a period of time where like the Hawk team wasn't supposed to like to be forming or something, and Spectre was a free agent for like all of like 3 hours, and I was like, listen, this guy has to be on the team. Yeah. And because I was this coach that like had no communication with the org or anything, I had no power. So all the players besides Kaluge were like, this is fucking stupid. Why did we sign Spectre? I'm like, you guys literally have no fucking idea what you're talking about. We don't sign Spectre. This team is fucked from the start. And I think me and Kaluge both knew that. So like the 3 hour window that Spectre was a free agent went by. And then Kaluge after that, I think just checked out completely. And he was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I don't think he wanted to do like any of the work that was required to be a non-tracer team, essentially. Which is impossible, by the way, in the current state of the game.
Yeah. It's not
Best
easy.
tracer meta ever. Like,
Yeah.
go tracerless.
Well, it's crazy as well, because what should happen if you're one of these orgs or one of a few orgs offering money is you basically get your pick of a bunch. Like, obviously Toronto have got in early and taken what they feel is the best, but then you just have free pick of everything else in the world, essentially, because there's no one else to compete. And there's no reason you can't be incredibly fussy, essentially, with who you sign and who you get in every role.
Yeah, and again, it's like it goes back to the problem of like nobody ever fucking talked to me. So like I would have gone through that process. Like I would have happily done all of the work, all of the legwork to like scout each and all the players. Like this is what's available. But we like they were just content with signing what like some fucking biased like NA players put together. They were just happy with it. They didn't seem to care. Like they kept saying like, oh, we want to win, we want to win, we want to win, and I was like, not with this, you don't. Like
you're not doing it.
So what actually happens on the day then? So as we get to like the roster lock day,
do you have any indication? Okay, yeah. Sorry to ruin your thing, but do you have any indication about like the Sam stuff coming out? Like, do you know about it before it hits?
I know about it, but like, okay, so like, I think somebody ended up messaging one of my players. It might have been Seeker. Seeker got a DM that like there was going to be this culling, like people were going to die. There was going to be blood in the streets, and like one of my players was named, and I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that. Like, so I just kind of like ignored it. I went back to sleep, and I woke up, and like Sam asked to get on a call, and I was like, holy fucking shit, they weren't kidding. And he kind of like explained the whole situation, and he tried to like reason through it, and I was like, I can't do anything. Like my hands are tied. I already didn't have enough power. I don't know how you expect me to have power to fucking somehow save your ass from saying the N-word. So
yeah, it's literally like it's impossible to survive it, I think. Like,
yeah, as best of luck, but I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. So we got off a call, and then after that is like the only time that I ever talked to M80. Like once the shots started being fired, M80 was like, oh, I actually need to talk to my coach. Fuck, I don't want to do that. Like.
Get a new coach. Get Gator.
Yeah, because like, essentially, I talked to them the very first time we did the contracts, and the only the second time that I talked to them was after maybe like 2 hours after Sam had been let go, and I was officially tasked with replacing the players. And I was like, well, I've got 4 hours, and everybody's on a fucking team already. So I essentially had to just start breaking down doors of teams that already existed. And I was like, I have money. Do you want to eat? Come play for my team. And I started with Hawk and Pelican. And that's where the debacle started, where I was going to get Hawk and Pelican, but Pelican was fucking asleep. So I had Hawk calling Pelican. I begged Ham to call Pelican, and I also begged Merritt to call Pelican, and none of them got through. So I had given offers to Hawk and Pelican, and they wanted to join the team, but only in the sense that it was Hawk and Pelican. Hawk didn't want to join with anybody else. It was Hawk and Pelican, or that's it. Like I'm not snaking my team if I can't bring the best guy with me. And I was like, fair enough. But I think the compromise we tried to work through is that like all of M80 just joined Hawk's team, and then M80 signed like Hawk's team too, and there'd be like 10 players. And I was like, if I sign 5 more players, the current players I have are going to fucking kill me. Like I'm going to be shot in the street if I like. It was already hell trying to sign Spectra onto the team. Imagine trying to sign Hawk, Spectra, Pelican, Hydron, Renko, and Lep all at one time.
It's so fucked too, because I can see how the snakes work. The second you invite Hawk and Pelican into the fucking nest, if they want to play with their players and Gator, it's like a little Trojan horse. You get them in, they talk to M80, and all of a sudden your head's cut off, and it's like this fucking like with somebody. Like, it's like exactly what happened. Like effectively what Kevster did to the team that I was building originally, where it's like if you invite people in, but they get their feet in and they get like an opportunity to talk or like to pitch their vision, all of a sudden you can find yourselves like not in that same system, you know? So it's like, you almost, in a way, you almost have to try to be cutthroat. What you should have done is sign your entire team Hawk. You tell Gator to fuck off. I'll coach this team and I'll bring the money. That would have been maybe the most ruthless, but maybe the way to do it.
I'm just not built like Gumbo. I don't know, like what you said makes sense, but I just don't like my brain doesn't go down that pathway. Like I don't know. Like again, it's like it makes me look fucking weak, but I had like 0 fucking power in this team. I didn't have power with the fucking players, and I didn't have power with the org. So I was like gambling with money that I didn't have, like trying to replace people. It feels like. Because like again, like even just like the thought of adding Spectra to the team nearly got me fucking shot in the street. So
yeah,
I think you just had to recognize that you were fucked, you know? Like
yeah.
You're saying like you were talking to Hawk about like getting Hawk and Pelican, but it's like Hawk always wants to be with Gator, you know? Like the only way you could have made that work is like capitalizing on the fact that like Hawk's dream is about to die, you know? Like he's about to be unsigned at the start.
Well, I was waving money in people's faces. Don't get me wrong. Like
you just had to make the play that like give Hawk the offer that he wants and somehow exclude Gator from it, you know? Like you needed to fucking make the move then and there, and it just couldn't happen. Like I reckon, you know, you're saying like Pelican was asleep. I reckon it's like I don't even know if Pelican was asleep this whole time or if he was just ignoring you because he was making his team with Gator, right? Like at the end of the day, like he made it in at the end of the lock, right? So like he must have known that something was coming.
They ended up in a better spot than probably just joining the roster straight up would have put them in.
For sure.
Well fucking played. Well played.
UV was on your team, right? Like originally.
Yes.
So they took UV and added it to everyone else that was on their team.
Yeah. So essentially, like we had gotten to the point where I had cycled through talking to Hawk and Pelican. And then I also reached out to Mirror and Top Dragon as like I was like, listen, like I'm just being straight up, like you guys are fucking backup plans. If like shit falls through, like I'll do my best to get you on the roster, but like you guys are the backup plan. But then I was sitting on a call. It's just me, Seeker, UV, and Liar. And we're sitting there talking about like what we want to do, like what players we want. And then I just get a message from UV, and he's like, listen, you might want to talk to Renko. And I'm like, the fuck are you talking about? And he just didn't respond. He was like, listen, I'm like, you might want to talk to Renko. I'm probably going to have to leave. This is the best for my career. I'm like, what do you mean the best for my career? You're signed to M80 and you're making, you know, however much a month with a great price. Like, what do you mean this is best for your career? And that's when I started hearing that Gator's like, M80's talking to Hawk and Hydron.
Gator's in the gates.
I was like, I understand. Hawk,
Gator has breached the gates.
And dude, it was like the fucking swarm. Like shit just started flying everywhere, man. Like I was like, so much shit was happening. Like, and then I was talking to like the head of esports, and he's like playing both sides because like he knows that the CEO is talking to the other team, but he's also talking to me, and he's still tasking me with talking to other players because it had reached like a critical point where I had literally like I had gotten Mirror and Top Dragon like awake and on board, and I was like, send it. Like it was at the point with our team where they were gathering their contact info for contracts.
Yeah.
So they were drafting contracts for my team while also replacing me at the same time.
I actually fucking love that.
What time of day is this as well? Like what's the like time to roster lock in all of this?
Okay, so that by the time we officially like got in a call and said, yeah, you guys are fucking gone, it was like maybe like an hour before the lock. It was like all of the shit happened in like the span of like 3 to 4 hours. I mean, like you guys saw, I publicly declared how fucking desperate I was when I asked for a flex DPS on Twitter.
All those people posting LFT on Twitter, it finally came through. Like we were haters for a time, but truly Twitter is the way to get a job.
Twitter is the way to get a job. Twitter got fucking Hamben, the best paid team in the world. That got them the jobs, didn't it?
Surely not. Surely Falcons signed Hamster. The tweet had nothing to do with it. Like, oh,
bullshit. I reckon it was all the tweet. You are overestimating Falcons right. You are overestimating Falcons right.
Everyone knows they're playing together. They announced that they're going to play in OWCS. I mean,
on Twitter.
On Twitter, yeah.
But I guess the argument is that like announcing that you're a team is different to announcing your LFO. You know, like I guess that's the. But maybe
I reckon that that tweet came out and like within a day Falcons had snaked the EU core. Like it was immediate. I reckon it was Twitter, genuinely. But I do think in the case of McGravy, it's like as it turns out, he needed way more than a flex DPS. He needed an entire roster and an organization willing to give him a salary because he was about to lose it all.
I needed hopes and dreams. I needed hopes and dreams. I needed more than physical players. I needed like I don't know.
Divine intervention.
Yes.
So then how does it actually happen? Because then obviously there's a point where MAT have to reveal that they're about to kill you and that you've been snaked. So how does that conversation go?
So obviously, like I was talking to Psycho, and there was just a period of time where he ended up leaving the call, and then like I said, like we started drafting the contracts for Top Dragon and Mirror, and there was like this maybe like 30 to 45 minute period where nothing was happening, and I had heard the rumors that they were talking to their team, and I was like, I'm just waiting to be shot at this point. Like
it's horrible, right?
The guns at the back of my head, and I'm just waiting for someone to pull the trigger. And he's like, "Okay, guys, when are you getting a call?" And he went on. He did like all the hoorah shit, like, "Oh, listen, like this." We're so terribly sorry about this. Like when we signed the roster, that just isn't what we envisioned. It's one thing to lose one player, but two at the same time is just unthinkable. Even though he said the complete opposite, like not even like an hour and a half earlier. And then he was like, listen, like, we still want to be a part of Overwatch. We might sign a roster next split, or we might sign a roster in 5 minutes. And I was like,
in 5 minutes?
You're basically just flaunting that you have another team in front of my face. But yeah, okay, go fuck myself. Yeah, I get it. And he was like, any questions? I'm like, what kind of questions do you expect to field from that sort of talk? Like, I think everyone just started leaving the call without really saying anything. So,
is UV in this call then? Because UV also essentially ends up playing both sides, right?
UV sat like this.
That's bad news. But I actually have another call to hop on that's unrelated to this completely.
Like, I don't blame UV in the slightest. I'm not mad at UV, but like he was in calls with the team the whole time, and he's like private messaging me that like I should be like exploring a different roster at this point. But he's also, you have to think about it. They're all in the Winthrop facility. UV is literally sitting next to Liar while he's snaking him at the same time. Silent, just a silent killer, just like. And again, I'm not shit talking UV. If it were me, I'd do the exact same. Like, get the bag, secure the bag.
Well, it's the same. I think when Landon snaked Gator to join us, I think Gator was like, "Yo, you still in? You still in?" And Landon just doesn't reply for a few hours. Like that's what I also thought he was doing to me, ironically, in some sort of like. Yeah. But then, because obviously, like, it's really everyone wants to be honest, but at the same time, you do have to kind of prioritize yourself in this like dog eat dog world. And then, he messages Gator and says, "Sorry, bro, I've signed a contract."
Yeah, I think the roster lock was 5 p.m. my time, 5 p.m. Pacific, I think, 8 p.m. EST for NA. And I got a message from UV at 4:18 p.m. So 42 minutes before the deadline. I learned that I've also lost my flex support. And then not like, I don't know how much, not much longer later, we all got released. So like, I just want to stress to people like the timeline here. Like shit is happening, like catastrophic shit is happening like within the span of 5 minutes of each other. and I've got like 40 minutes to go.
I think this will keep happening too. Is like this format opens up. Like it might not necessarily be with orgs and cancellations, but like those last few hours before roster locks, you're going to see like so much fucking like shenanigans. Like you actually need to do like a transfer deadline day special X on your stream, or like this player has left this team because like this is like the kind of inevitable.
When I was doing one of the co-streams, Cal comes into my chat and is like, "Oh, I can't tell you, but I've just got 4 brand new players. We've got a new team." I was like, "Oh, it's just a brand." And this was maybe like the day before roster lock or something, so maybe like 48 hours out. And I was just like, "Oh, it's happening!" Like I've got a team, and I mean, ultimately that team nearly got like pulled apart as well anyway for this. But it's just like everything's just all over the place, and I don't really know how you stop it being like that, really.
It's funny you bring up Cal, actually, because it's like he really went through like every stage of grief imaginable in like the shortest period of time. Because it's like he had this full-blown roster that suddenly got picked to bits by Gumba appearing. And then he's messaging me saying, "Hey, do you want to coach my new team?" Because he's putting together a new one. 45 minutes after I've said no to that, he's tweeted he's retired. And then the Rostermania occurs again. And somehow
only Unta can save this team.
No, genuinely, it was insane. He messages me like, "Can you coach this roster?" And I'm like, "No, I have a job." And he's like, "Okay." 40 minutes later on the timeline, packed it in, guys. It was a good run.
I give up.
A day later, he's on a roster with PGE again. Like, what's happening here? Make up your fucking mind.
I mean, I said it earlier, but I completely understand. Like, I got cut with like, I got fired with like maybe like 45 minutes left on the clock. And those 45 minutes were just filled with like, what's the fucking point? Like, what's the point? Like, is there any point to this? Like, I thought about doing the exact same thing and just saying, I'm done. Like, it's over. Like, I'm never getting an opportunity like this again, and it was gone in 24 hours. Like, it's just not meant to be. Like, let's just pack it in.
Yeah, it ain't easy. It ain't easy. But you know, you said like you're never getting an opportunity like this again. I mean, that's also something that people need to remember. You know, post Overwatch League. You know, like it's all down from here, baby. Like, nothing.
Yeah.
This offer was cream of the crop. Like, you couldn't, like, it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but like, given like the context of like the scene right now, like it was just about as good as it gets. And just like the elation of like getting that, like be able to secure essentially like being able to like at least have a chance of doing esports full time again was like crazy. Like, cause it's not even what I expected. Like, I was thinking maybe I'd get like $500 a month or something at like best.
Yeah, my feeling is like presumably no one wants to go into contract details on the podcast, but like my feeling is that like if you get like the best, I think Falcons are an exception because I think that's like an infinite money glitch. Yeah. But my feeling is that like what would go for like a premier esports Overwatch contract is like somewhere between 1.5 and 2K a month with like a really decent prize pool split where the company only takes like somewhere between like 10 and 25%. If you get that, that's about genuinely as good as anyone.
That's a tier 1 offer.
Yeah,
that is absolutely a tier 1 offer, and like that's like in reality crazy. That's fucking nothing.
Yeah, it is right.
Literally nothing.
Because if you think about that, like I guess what I'm saying is I am not convinced bar Falcons any Overwatch player is earning more than $2,000 a month. Maybe there's like 1 or 2 somewhere, like in some negotiations. But I mean, the highest salaried Overwatch player is fucking $24,000 a year, which I'm fairly sure is less than minimum wage in the US.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty close. I think it's way less though, especially in some states. It's not even close.
So that's like the state of the scene. And I think that like with a lot of the contracts, like the prize pool split is the most important thing because if you can compete like first or second in your region, then it's a decent chunk. And especially as we look towards the World Cup, if it happens, then obviously any prize pool percentage you get from that is probably quite a tasty amount.
Yeah. But I want to add on, the only reason people are even getting paid to like you said, like the $1,500 to $2,000 a month is because the open secret is that like this Saudi World Cup shit is happening. That's the only reason. If that wasn't happening, nobody would be getting paid fucking shit. Nobody would get paid anything. Like I'd be lucky to get a $500 a month offer if the Saudi World Cup didn't exist, because nobody wants to put money into this game at the moment until there's like certainties from Blizzard. Like they want hard proof that Blizzard's actually going to support this game, and there is none at the moment.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Well, it's good that, over in Saudi Arabia, they're willing to just pump a bunch of money into the game and pay orgs hundreds of thousands of dollars to compete at their big tournament in the middle of the year. Because then, it gives everyone like a tiny little shred of hope to keep going for a little bit longer, $1,500 a month.
Supposedly, like, it depends on how long the World Cup goes on for and if it like continues to support Overwatch. But my feeling is that like orgs will be profitable in this current market more than Overwatch League teams were. But then, like you said, like, because there's also an upside where like if the World Cup continues, but then Overwatch as an esport actually grows, and all of a sudden there's like this like super upside, where it's like, oh fuck, there's actually an existing scene with this like really nice, like massive tournament with like incentives built in. But we need to see how like these next few weeks go, and then I guess especially how like the lands go.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested actually as to whether there'll be like a trades market, because right now people are like signing up to, these kind of like Mickey Mouse tier 2 organizations like M80 and stuff like that. But what happens if this Saudi World Cup stuff rolls around? Yeah, Mickey Mouse. What happens if this Saudi World Cup stuff rolls around and it's actually like a fuck ton of money for Overwatch, right? Like true tier 1 involvement levels of money. And all of the talent is locked up in fucking Kappa, Donald Duck, M80, the org named after an explosive device, like that's not going to fly. So like, is Cloud9 going to come in and go pay buyouts to get the best roster for the Saudi World Cup because they can win like hundreds of thousands of dollars? Like, is there a world where that occurs? Is there a world where there actually is a trades market in the kind of mid-season period for this?
My guess, and it's just a guess, is that you will see tier 1 orgs entering closer to the time just as like a seasonal pick up a team. And the problem these teams have, let's say Cloud9 is the example. I don't know if like, I don't think Cloud9 will get into Overwatch, I think, because I can't say, I shouldn't say, I won't say. So like my feeling somewhere is that if you're trying to like, if Cloud9 does decide that they want to get into Overwatch, they're in like a situation where every good team is already kind of sponsored and under some sort of contract, right? Like there is like an advantage to being like an M80 and kind of getting in early and signing a team because the players are going to accept it. Because if you look at Europe, I'm sure Cloudy said on his stream that they're signed. Who knows where? I have no idea where they're signed to. Like we're obviously signed. Like Twisted Minds are obviously signed. Rock are signed. And in America, it's the same. Like Toronto is signed. M80 is signed. Like in Korea, like I swear I read on Reddit or something that they think WAC is signed. I'm not sure if that's true. But if these like top 2 or 3 teams are signed and they're actually under contracts, if you're a big org wanting to get into Overwatch, you're kind of fucked actually. Like there's actually no way. I think there's almost no way to build a team that can compete with those teams. Like from the pieces, you could maybe build like one Korean super team from unsigned people. That would be the only way. But if you're signing an EU roster like that isn't SSG, Twisted Minds, or Spray Check, whatever the fucking new name is, actually it's just over, right? Like there's like I think there's no way to build like a super team that you can expect to have any qualification chances at the World Cup. So I feel like from like these big orgs, because they are waiting, they've kind of fucked it already,
Unless there's a trades market, like unless these teams get picked apart because
yeah.
There's an argument from like an M80 perspective. If you are in this tier 2 org, your plan could just be to flip for team. Like you're gambling that you'll pay this for a certain amount of time and then you'll get an offer from an org above you and you can get some sort of version of buyout and essentially flip for team for profit.
But don't you think M80 will be at the World Cup?
I see, like, I can't speak to like certainties, but like that's like the general, like it didn't ever feel like a buyout angle. It felt like they were going to be involved with the World Cup. So they essentially get to just pick up a team for free with like 0 risk. And they just know with the money involved that they'll break even and there's a chance they can make money. And that's that alone is worth for them.
But they could let the big dogs gamble. By having a good roster, and they just field shitters. They could sell all their talent and then field a bunch of dog shit and still get that same guaranteed money because like the format for the World Cup is meant to be participation money, right? Like,
well, no, there was also a huge incentive to perform well across every game. Like that's where the majority of the prize money for the orgs comes, and I feel like the reason it's good is the reason like a lot of these orgs will offer such high prize pool percentage for the players is because there is this like separate prize pool that only the orgs get. So if you finish like 1st in League of Legends, 2nd in Counter-Strike, 5th in Overwatch, your aggregate will go, and then there is like an additional presumably bumper prize pool for that, which the players have they're not entitled to it. So there is an Overwatch prize pool, there is a League of Legends prize pool, and then there is the overall like in Formula 1 they would call it the Constructors Championship or something, right? Where it's like which like organization performed the best over the season.
Yeah.
That's what. So my feeling is that like M80 is genuinely trying to be competitive, because I think that any game you get into, you actually really do want to compete because there's some sort of points for it.
Which is what bothers me even more is how like little effort and research they actually put into the program then. Like if that's like the goal in mind is to be the best at all the esports, you would think you'd like at least put a little bit of time and effort into the game you know fucking nothing about. It just not to cycle back to the same point, but it just blows my mind still, I think. Just like the lack of effort that they put into it, even though like you said, there's this huge fucking like millions of dollars incentive to have like a really good Overwatch team, because it could boost you like literally hundreds of thousands of dollars into the money.
Even just a placement boost, because like the appeal of something like Overwatch in this event is if you say you want to compete in League of Legends at the Esports World Cup, well, everyone's going to have a premium all-star team. You have to spend big money to compete, and presumably you'll get more, whatever we're going to call them, like Overwatch World Cup points from League of Legends. But the amount you'd have to invest in Overwatch at this stage to get an A-star roster or a world-class roster is significantly less than probably almost any other game that's going to be featured there. So it's like the cheapest way potentially to get good points at the Esports World Cup. And for these orgs, maybe M80 aren't going to be aiming to win the Esports World Cup, but the difference between like 8th place and 6th place or something could still be hundreds of thousands of dollars or even more.
Yeah.
But now it's all going to Gator, so, well
played, Gator.
Rich get richer.
So then at what point do you move past the stage of despair? You, Seeker, and Lyra are sitting there contemplating different lengths of rope. But then at a certain point, you decide to get it back together and all right, let's do it. Let's go find whoever happens to be standing outside this room right now, and let's get him on a team and let's give it one more go.
I think the only thing that motivated any of us to even like try and play for this split is the fact that like Mir and Top Jacket were like, we don't want to go back to our old team anyways. Do you guys just want to play? And we were like, well, I guess we have nothing better to do now, and we have about 15 minutes, so let's just join a roster and whatever happens. It wasn't motivation at all. It was still despair. Like we were still despairing 100%. Like we were still contemplating life and whatnot, but it just happened to be like, might as well fill our time with something random, which ended up being WD-40.
Yeah, because to be fair, even if like M80 and Toronto get in, there's still like a really good chance like there's like one LAN slot. And I feel like for a lot of people, like going to the LANs, like I think that's a big motivation. I'd love to qualify for both the LANs. It feels like the roster you've got here like has got like it feels like it's between you and Timeless, right? It feels like everyone's like super Timeless pilled right now, but it's either between you and them for that third slot.
Maryville as well, I think, is actually pretty solid.
Now that I've got a real coach in charge.
There's potential for the third slot, which is why I think everyone didn't immediately give up. Yeah, because I mean there is still that third slot open up for contention. And then you never know. Like I know, like I can just I'm not gonna name any names, but I know for a fact there are like orgs like waiting in the wings. Just like if there's like even a glimmer of hope, like I think there will be orgs that take a shot, especially if you're a team that qualifies for the LAN. So that's the only thing keeping me, Seeker, and Liar moving at the moment, I think.
God. The third place NA seed is a little bit like cope, to be honest. You know, like it's actually such a dogfight. Like there's so many people competing for it. I think the top two is like mega clear, you know, like it's just there's no chance at all. But then third place is actually such a dogfight. I think even teams like Redbirds, you know, like Redbirds are good. Like you say, Maryville.
They're in EU.
Oh, they're not in NA actually. Okay, forget them. They're gonna get shit on them. Thing actually, I take that back. But still, there's like there's Timeless, there's Maryville, there's WD-40. You know, like there's at least 3 teams that are like genuinely like pretty competitive in that slot. I mean, last time we scrimmed against Timeless, we got our shit ran. So maybe they're the favorites. But I feel like they're fallible for sure. You know, the power of friendship can only take them so far. They've probably got some weaknesses. And I just kind of like want Rocket to not qualify so that he can forever be next up, but never actually
next up.
Yeah. But yeah, I do feel like that third place NA is like very much up for contention, but it's gonna hurt for any other team. You know, like if anyone doesn't make it in this call, you know, that's gonna sting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there anything we've missed from this debacle? I mean, maybe one thing that's worth noting is because the admins extended the deadline for you for a little bit, right? So you could get this all sorted.
See, now I don't know if that's true. Because
Okay.
the way I remember it is we were all there on time.
Okay.
Listen, so much happened. I could be completely wrong, but I don't remember it being us the reason that the deadline got moved. And that's because again, I could be just totally misremembering time, but how I remember it is like there was like a solid like 5 minutes left on the clock of the original deadline that we were all like on the roster. The only thing that like our face at roster like got like messed around was the fact that Gumbo and Crimzo were still on it, and Gumbo was still listed as the coach, even though he wanted nothing to do with it, and they had to like fix that later or something.
Okay. I guess all you need is go on.
I was gonna say yeah, but I mean like there's a lot of details probably like in the middle there that I've probably missed because like I said, like it was a 4 hour span of just like pure fucking pandemonium. I have fucking like gold players asking me to join the team. Like, just give me a shot, bro. Like, please, like you won't be disappointed. Like I played in a GM match like twice, and like I have to like read these messages because I don't have a player. So I'm just sitting here just like scrolling through fucking garbage. Like literally like maybe an hour and a half straight. Players.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it does turn out like it would be a nice story, right? To have 42 minutes and to finish third place and get to playoffs is like, that's a nice little story if you can make it happen.
There's definitely... Sorry, you go.
I was gonna say, like, again, that's like the only thing I think keeping me, Seeker, and Liar moving. Like, especially like Seeker. Seeker's gotten fucked like literally everywhere he's gone. Like, that man has just taken it from every angle, like his whole career, for like absolutely no reason. Third place is the only thing keeping us moving for sure.
There's definitely like a roster unlock between stage 1 and 2 though, right? Like teams can make moves, and there's like some sort of system where like the players carry the points. So like if you can't like sell your entire team and keep your points, like the players like average ways up. But there is ways to make moves, right? Like if you like finish like 3rd or 4th in this one, and then an org's interested, you could potentially like form the next super team. Presumably like for stage 2, which is weighted more than stage 1 anyway, right?
Yeah, but the issue is if you want to form a super team, let's be all real. Like you want to sign Koreans, like if that's but I'm pretty sure region points don't transfer. So if like say if you wanted to transfer Chorong in, because let's be real, like I think everybody that ever talked about transferring people in, it's flex DPS and main support. And I think X, you said that on your videos as well. Like if you're making an NA roster, you're signing a Korean flex DPS and you're signing a Korean main support. And if you're doing it any other way, like besides like a few niche cases like Toronto signing like someone, like you're doing it wrong, I think. So if you're like, even if you wanted to make a super team, you have to like make like a calculated gamble that like you're signing imports and you've just lost on like substantial points and you literally might not qualify for the big event anymore.
So there's a few things really working against you here, because you have to bear in mind, Wellner's going to be, what we're going to do in Europe and North America is we're going to have this month's tournament, and then next month we're going to have a very similar looking tournament, but for slightly more circuit points, I believe they're called. But in Korea, it's 1 2-month tournament. The Korean roster lock is actually just, if all these Korean players who are on a Korean roster are actually just locked. So even if you found a bag of money on the street and you walked up to Chorong and were like, do you want to come over to America and play for all this money? I don't think he actually can, even if he wanted it with all the best will in the world. And then, the way the circuit points work is, so let's say you win this tournament, you get 50 points each per player. So as an org, you would then have 250 points for your team. And those points are actually stuck to the player. So if you would say, let's use Toronto and you get rid of RuPaul, RuPaul keeps his 50 points, and Toronto would then have 200 points instead of 50 if they were then to sign, say,
do you know how it works with like six-man rosters and stuff?
I think the points go to, I think there's a certain number of maps you have to play to qualify for points. So say like, I don't know what it's in the rules somewhere, the number of points, but you do get points, I think. But I think you don't get the full points. I think the 5 players who played the most maps gets the full points, and then there might be some kind of scaling thing if you've played enough share of maps. But if you're just like, maybe in a sauna situation where you've just been locked in the basement for forevermore, you're going to get no points.
Extra year in the basement for sauna.
You're going to get no points no matter how well a spray check do, you know?
Speaking of poor Sana, he tried to so hard to circumvent the EU roster lock when he heard I had an opening. He was like, bro, like I've just been locked away. Like, please, like I haven't played at all.
I mean,
like, get me out. Like,
I think Son is lucky inting though. Like, I feel like he should have. I don't know. Maybe EXO was never an opportunity, but I feel like he should have tried to like stab Cloud in the back there. Like, I think the writing was on the wall for him quite early on, and I feel like he should have attempted to join an EU team, but
the spot was open. Like they
trialed loads of people, you know.
Exactly, yeah. So the spot was open if someone wanted to trial for it. I don't know why he was so keen to lock this in so quickly when it's really hard to be a Tracer player on a team. If the other Tracer on the team is Kevster.
Yeah. It's literally ironically, it's the only meta you can do is right now where it's Echo Tracer, you know, it's like the only one.
And this is like a perfect meta for him, but
it's like, still not happening,
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like he should have attempted to join, like, because 2 years of not fucking playing is gonna fuck you up, you know?
Yeah, I think I had to tell about like 7 different European players that like, listen, you guys are under roster lock. Why do I have to keep saying this? Like, you guys were like, you guys literally just played. Like, why are you asking me to play for NA? Like, you know how it works. Like, the rosters are locked. Like, stop asking me.
Yeah, fucking clients.
But yeah, it means I'll go on.
I was gonna say, have you guys got any clue like why the 2 stages, like stage 1 and stage 2, are worth such a wildly different amount of circuit points? Like, it's actually kind of crazy, like how
it's twice as many for the second.
Like, like twice as much for the second. Like, what's that all about? Like, the format of the event is the same, no?
Yeah, I don't know. I thought my assumption was it was just something along the lines of like you want the best teams at the time to qualify, so like they weight your strength like closer to the tournament as like a bigger factor. But it also feels kind of unfair, right? Like I think
it sort of makes sense. It makes sense in like, because I think they did this in Overwatch League where stage 4 was worth more qualification points than stage 1. But the difference between stage 1 and stage 4 in Overwatch League is like 6 months or something in some of these earlier seasons. So it makes sense to like weight it more towards the later stage of a season. But the difference here is like this month and next month. Like, is it really going to be that much dramatic?
It's a gap of like a month, and the first stage basically doesn't matter with how many points they're handing out in the second stage. You know, unless you didn't compete in the first stage, like I feel like it's not even going to matter.
Well, ironically, it would be when we were talking about it's reasonable to sacrifice the first stage points if you were going to like say change region or something. The problem is all the Korean players are locked, so any idea of a big import, you're only working with players who currently aren't in the team, which I guess there's some decent players around, of course, you know, but you're still way more limited than you would be.
Yeah.
I think, because the only other thing to say worth on this circuit point system is as well, because obviously the implication is you could then just like, once we get to qualification time, there'll just be an even more intense version of Rostermania where everyone's trying to do the math to get the best roster.
Yeah.
I think if I cut this guy, I get 20 more points if I get this guy. And then we're going to supersede these guys. If we cut this guy, we get this guy. And everyone's going to be doing the math.
And like that kind of thinking, like would also just like leads like the worst, like constructed rosters of like all time where like nobody seems to like nobody likes each other. Like when you put rosters like haphazardly together like that, like there's just bound to be fucking fireworks exploding. It always happens.
Says a guy who put a roster together in 40 minutes.
We're definitely rolling the dice at the moment. Yeah, I mean, like Liar. I think Liar has never played with a Korean before, so this guy's like literally like relearning how to like think and talk as like a human being in like the span of like a week. So poor guy's going through it at the moment.
I think the only protection it is against this is, let's say, it's going to get like technical detail here, but let's say you have 500 points and you sacrifice one player to get a player who has 150 points from their previous wins, right? Because you still have your core roster, you can't go above your original total. So if your original total was 500, even if you sign a 200 player thing, you can't go above that. But the definition of a core roster is 3 players or more. So if you cut 2 people, you can't change your total above the original total. But if you cut 3 or more people, then it's just the new total. So it's hard for an existing core to upgrade a couple of players, but if you were to blow up a bunch of teams, you could make potentially one super team. But I don't know how does the math translate in reality? That's the big question, right? Because you can take up to 2 people from each team. So you could go like, oh, what if I took Kai and Kev from this team? And then Landon and Astro from this team? And then I just dumped Smurf on top. Then maybe I've created a super team and we've got the combined thing and we've cheated the qualification system or something.
It's actually, when you think about it, when you say it like that, it's so fucking important orgs get involved in Overwatch, because the only thing that stops people from fucking, because if everyone's unsigned and there is this way that, like, because there is, what you're saying, I'm fairly sure there is a system that Gumbo will think about, where if you look the right players from the right teams, not only does your team, even though you might not have even played a game, you have enough circuit points to guarantee qualify for the LAN, you can actually blow up every other team so that they don't qualify. There is a way that you can
points as well, don't you? You don't just gain points, you can take
so
points
you
from
fucking
orgs.
steal the points from this, you steal them, you take them here, all of a sudden teams A and B can't qualify because they don't have the points. You qualify because even though you didn't fucking play a game, there is some unbelievable fucking system that someone who's probably Australian can gain. That the only way to do it is some sort of contractual salary from orgs.
Gumbo's going to steal from them all.
Yeah, there has to be some sort of incentive where people want to stay, and that is like 99% going to be money from an organization. So, yeah.
That's the only way. Yeah,
Because I guess the idea of this circuit point system is to give like some of it to the players, right? To stop this system that maybe happened in contenders, where all of a sudden the contender spot is actually owned by dodgy Bob, who is just happy to sell the spot and screw over the players in exchange for the spot, and give like the players a sense of you actually earn the points yourself, so you can't be screwed over by a thing. You're always going to have those points and be a valuable asset because of what you achieved. But it also does shift it back to this full chaos if everyone has that ability.
All these rosters will just be stable in 2 months and it won't matter, you know? Who knows?
Let's hope so.
Fingers crossed.
Doubtful. 2 months is a long time for an Overwatch team, you know?
4 hours is a long time for an Overwatch team, so let alone 2 months.
It depends on whether your org's name is a bomb or not, you know? That was kind of rigged from the start.
I didn't tell you guys, but WD-40 got shot down. We can't be WD-40 anymore.
Are you serious?
Why?
Because it's a brand.
Is this a real brand? Yeah, probably. I think
WD-40, like
that makes
my
sense.
manager
That makes sense.
was like, Gravy, like we have to change our name and logo and picture. And I was like, why? Like just don't, like have Blizzard tell us off before we change anything. And we got told off like, I don't know, like maybe like 8 hours ago.
happens.
Yeah.
Fuck.
So now we're boring.
You got a new
LFO.
name, or are you still
Everyone
thinking?
got mad at me. It was like, just make LFO. And I was like, you guys are boring, whatever.
Fuck, yeah, that is.
genuinely
terrible.
I hope you guys don't qualify anymore.
I suggested N79, but they weren't going for it.
That's way better, actually. But you also, they wouldn't allow that either. Blizzard wouldn't allow it. So
Yeah.
Well, who else is it? Spray Chick have been hit with the rule book as well.
you can't allow it. Fucking Overwatch League is banned in an Overwatch tournament. That's next level.
What is that?
Revisionist
Bubbo?
history.
What are you?
Bubbo,
what is
Bubo or something?
Bubo.
It's owl in a different language, Latin or something. I think. So it's
Okay.
I like that. See, that's thinking outside. That's LFO boring. Fucking.
Well, I mean,
Well
they were
done,
like, Gravy,
Tim
you change the name, and I'm like literally like at the vet, like watching like my cat stitches get finished and stuff. So I was just like, whatever, man. Like, whatever. You guys want to be LFO? It's LFO. I think our team page is literally LFO, and it's a picture of my cat. So
Fair enough.
It's probably the least of your problems you've had in this last week, honestly.
yeah, $3,200 at the vet. So that's quite a problem, to be honest. But yeah, not even the worst one that I've had.
Maybe NA will cover it as a
That's
goodwill
part of the
gesture.
severance package.
I'm not even sure they know I exist anymore. I don't think they knew in the first place.
Maybe they watch the podcast.
I hope so. Fuck you guys.
Well, it's always nice to have. We were worried without Overwatch League, wouldn't it be rivalries? There's no Dallas Showdown, but there's a way. There's always a way to have a spite match.
The worst part is I don't dislike anybody on the team. Like, I don't think anyone is going to be shit talking each other in that match. It's just going to be like awkward. It's not even. I don't even know if it's gonna be spite. It's just gonna be awkward. Like nobody blames the other team. Like when it happened, Gator was like, "Oh my god, dude, I'm so sorry." I'm like, "Why are you apologizing to me?" Like it's not, like they were gonna get rid of me anyways. I think they just found a convenient answer at the time, and I just got cut probably a month early. Like if they had to keep the roster for a month, they probably would have, but it probably would have been lights out after that, anyways.
If it wasn't Gator, it would have just been somebody else essentially, right?
Yeah,
It was like, it's not like Gators killed you when you weren't going to be killed anyway, potentially.
Yeah, I have
You
no
already
ill will
don't.
toward. Yeah, I have no ill will towards Gator or anybody who stabbed a knife in my heart. It was already there. They just shoved it in. You know what I mean? Like, I was already bleeding out.
So, not to be outdone by North America's attempted roster lock, Europe decided to get involved late. And I guess America got involved again as well with some disqualifications alongside this as well. And this is where it potentially gets very messy and confusing.
Yeah,
so
I think woke up today and all the teams I was in my group are now disqualified.
The groups have been shaken up, I guess, is the most accurate way. So the official tweet came out and was very much Raspberry Racers, Iliad Artemis, and Trukavines, which is was Impero on Wikipedia, have all been disqualified for essentially the same reason, even though the situation is different for every team, of players not getting eligibility. So for how it worked for everyone else, once the top 16 teams were established, Blizzard then asked everyone needs to submit documents for their players to prove their identity, nationality, and whatever info they need to, obviously, for Blizzard to arrange if they qualify for LAN or anything. And then during this stage, they obviously realized that some people did not meet the qualification or had indeed have rulebook changes, which is when they announced that these teams were going to be disqualified. So I'll try and get this all right. For Iliad Artemis, I think it might actually be quite simple because one of their players was underage. Said they were 17. They weren't actually 17. They were 2 weeks short. So obviously there's an element of unluckiness to this. But obviously, if you're not 17, you're not 17, which is a lesson we feel like we need to sort of keep learning in Overwatch. But unfortunately, this team has fallen short of it. Then let me get this right. So, Impero is probably the most complicated situation because Juzu is Russian nationality, which is an illegal maneuver as far as Blizzard are concerned. They fall into the same category as China, as in you're not allowed to play. But he also claims to have citizenship in Kazakhstan, which is an allowed country. But he's still been disqualified. And I think the dispute is essentially whether the documents he have actually classes him as citizen or full-time residency, or if it's just like a temporary residency, essentially, because he's only been in Kazakhstan for 6 months. Yeah. So there's an element of how long has he actually been there and does it really qualify under Blizzard's rules? And then the third one was Raspberry Racers, the Alexei one.
I think so. Is that just he's just Russian?
Yeah, Alexei is Russian and doesn't have any of these same things, so he's just been.
he's just Russian.
It's unfortunate. He's just Russian and doesn't have a backup plan. So unfortunately, he's gone. There's so cheeky to just try and fucking vibe it. I will just play with him, see if Blizzard pick up on it, and then all because they were supposed to be quite good. Like everyone's like Ice Gnome, everyone's like on the Ice Gnome train. Like he's next up. Like this team was like one of the 8-1. Actually finished higher than us in the seeding, and then it's just all fucking cooked. Like I mean, I think the good thing about this stuff is it won't happen next because teams are like, if we try to cheat Blizzard, they'll just fucking DQ us. So we're going to make sure all of our players are not Russian when we play with them this time.
I'm down to put a bet somebody still fucks it up next stage, honestly. I don't know. Like, this is what happens once you put players in charge. Like,
well, the thing is, these 3 teams fucked up, but we don't know how many teams really fucked up because these were just we only checked 32 teams ultimately that got through to the top 16 in each region. So there could have been way more mess ups that we just didn't get to, essentially.
Yeah. There are going to be people that messed up and they'll qualify next stage and realize they fucked up. And this one's really going to hurt because it's worth double the points. So it's double the fuck up.
Yeah.
Well, I think, because some of the outpouring is, or some of the complaints, because obviously Twitter's been very negative to this. If anyone was keeping an eye on the Overwatch for OWCS Discord, there was also a lot of heat coming towards the admins. Some of it seems to be a question of response time. But I do also have some sympathy for the tournament finishes on Sunday. You say to 32 teams times what? Average of 6 players, potentially more. But can you provide us all the documentations to prove citizenship and all the details and whatever else they need? And then you're a team of presumably not a lot of people at Blizzard who then have to verify all this, and especially in Europe when it's like I've got to verify citizenship for the UK, France, Germany, Lithuania, Kazakhstan. All these different things now have different qualifications and legal things. Obviously, it sucks for the team because it ends up being last minute, right? Like this was announced yesterday, and the tournament is starting 48 hours after this is happening, essentially, maybe even a bit less. Yeah. Especially for the European teams when this announcement happened at like midnight or 1 a.m., which might be a suboptimal time to find out you're disqualified from a tournament.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't really make a difference, right? Like if they find out fucking 2 days ago, it's a DQ. A DQ is a DQ. I don't think it like massively matters. Like I don't know. My feeling is
it just screws the teams that have to fill in. Like
I guess, but they're also like unbelievably happy. No, like none of those teams are like, oh fuck, I have to play OWCS now. Like they're all fucking
yeah.
And I think Blizzard's really reasonable in this situation, unless there's something I don't know. I think actually Blizzard's W.
Yeah, my interpretation of it.
W's in the chat.
My interpretation is there's like, for maybe someone like Juzu, it's unfortunate if he thought he did qualify, but Blizzard don't. What he thought qualified as citizenship, and it turns out it doesn't actually qualify as citizenship. I can understand how that is unfortunate, right? Because they've obviously competed under the basis that it will be fine, and they've not been able to get clarification beforehand. Or I don't know if how early they tried, right? I know Juzu said they tried to clarify it, but I don't know if they tried to clarify it before the Swiss stage, because if they did, then it's on Blizzard for not being able to clarify it. If they didn't do it until after the Swiss stage, well, Blizzard's got back to you as soon as possible, but it was going to be fucked either way. Because a lot of people are also saying it's unfair that the other team, like I guess the most common thread I was getting in my Twitch chat, #ad, #follow me on Twitch and on Twitter was that, well, why not just let the team play instead, but disqualify the player? But it's impossible, right?
Client.
Because not only has that player potentially played all the matches and influenced therefore all of the results, those results influence the fixtures for the next game. So if we were to do a like cinematic universe and start another timeline where we remove the Russians from it, then actually hundreds of matchups look different. The whole thing can look completely different all of a sudden. So it's you have to disqualify the whole team. I think there's no way around 100%. That. Yeah.
I'll just have Leave fucking carry my team to qualify and then have him just fucking eat his ass and put the next guy in.
Whoopsies.
I didn't realize he was Chinese. My bad.
Well, exactly. If Toronto had turned up and they were like, oh, Gushway's going to play in these ones, and then Blizzard turned around and said, Toronto, you've been disqualified, because that was quite clearly Gushway playing, and he's not allowed to play, no one would be having a go at the admin saying, oh, just let him play without Gushway, won't you? They'd all just say, but it seems like Toronto are a bunch of clients here for flying Gushway out to get him disqualified or whatever it is.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of anti-Blizzard takes around this topic overall. You know, people are like super anti-Blizzard pilled no matter the scenario. But I feel like in this one, it's like how can you really fault them? You know, it's just in the rule book. You know, like these countries can't play.
Yeah, they have,
and then they enforce
rules.
That.
They enforce the rules. Everyone knew about the rules. Yeah. And they do it in a fair way.
I mean, it sucks to be that
one day earlier.
It sucks to be that one Russian guy in Kazakhstan or wherever it is, and it's like, you know, Blizzard doesn't feel that his working permit in Kazakhstan is adequate evidence of him not being Russian anymore or whatever. But you know, it's like I feel like there's a big geopolitical situation happening with Russia right now, some sort of like war, like a proxy war with the West. So I do feel like, you know, maybe if there's a little bit more scrutiny than usual over your identification documents, if you're from the country that we're at proxy war with, you know, that might be it.
Also, like the fact that he's like a Kazakhstan resident, but only has a Russian passport. I'm fairly sure that Russian passport isn't going to be too good to get to Dallas LAN if you qualify, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point, isn't it? You know, like you probably can't travel from Russia at the moment with a worker's permit from Kazakhstan. You know, you need a passport so that you can travel, which probably it doesn't go so well.
As much as you might look at teams like the Impero and you might say, well, obviously their ambitions might not be a top 3 spot. No offense to the rest of the roster who might disagree with me, but they just want to play in the top 16 and see how far they go. They're not even going to go to LAN. But the problem is, you can't gamble that if you're Blizzard. Yeah. You can't just go, they won't make top 3 anyway. It's not a problem. And just play them because, there's probably a lot of stuff that makes this very complicated, which also will make this very much when we say a Blizzard decision, this probably isn't really like a Bailey or an Overwatch esports team decision. This will be a Blizzard legal department decision over who can and can't.
This is very much a Joe Biden decision, I think, ultimately. It came from the top.
So all of these comments about like, can GSV play or can the team just play, should actually, if we could send these to Joe Biden instead and have him try and resolve it, I think that would probably be more productive.
Yeah.
POTUS.
Chocolate chip.
And yeah, the other teams are just, I think, a much more straightforward situation of just, lying about age or just trying it.
You should have picked a different name to Alexi, Like you should have called himself Frank.
Thomas.
If he comes in with Frank 27, maybe he
I
gets
think it's
through it.
Kellen trying to get around the roster lock again, though, to be fair.
But that's fucking they couldn't have
playing
picked
two
a
regions.
more fucking Russian name to pretend to not be Russian. So yeah. Some definite clients of the week there.
Mm-hmm. So what this has done in essence is all the groups everyone was looking at and trying to, hypothesize who would go through. They've been shuffled massively, I think, for the most part. And all the groups people thought they were in are now completely different groups because obviously you just take the teams out of a ranking, you bump everyone up. But obviously the way the seeding works, everyone's been shuffled around. So I guess there's a few problems. I think I saw some teams complaining that, we've been preparing now for this team, but now we've got to play this team. And obviously you've lost.
You had 1 day of preparing. Shut the fuck up. Like, who the fuck's prepared over the last 1 day? But fuck off.
It's been 3 days, right? You would have found out on Sunday.
Fuck off.
Fuck off, X.
I have to say on the matter. Fuck off.
Fuck off, man.
In response, it's a
Can
pretty
the producer tell Alex to fuck
argument,
off right now? Like,
Can't argue with that. I mean,
well, I'm not here to debate whether it was 1 day or 3 days. We'll let the public decide. But it means we now have dramatically different groups. So do we want to have a look at the groups and figure out who's getting through?
Do you want to talk about just like the overall format first? Because how did you guys find it?
Face-it experience.
I know. Yeah, so it felt the Face-it was fucking clean actually. We didn't have anyone DC. Did either of you two have a DC in any of your games?
Yeah.
Did it auto pause?
It was kind of fucking annoying, to be honest. Like, it's annoying that, someone DC'd at the start of the game and they came back straight away, and then we had to wait for like 5 minutes for an admin. We were just sitting there like jerking off in match.
Oh, really? An admin has to
because the admin has to do the
ticket, right?
Yeah. It's just kind of an annoying system that you can't like vote pause and vote unpause, And like if you ever need a pause for something, like you need to DC yourself from the game, which I presume means losing your ult charge. I don't actually know because we it does.
It 100% will.
Yeah. So like, I mean, I think there's definitely like some issues with the system, but at the end of the day, it's like it's Swiss, But these games go so long, man. Like the Swiss bracket days.
That was the most annoying thing, right?
It's like you're actually waiting and
like those two fucking gold teams fucking in the gulag. How many teams went to map 4 this week? I thought a draw on Hybrid was so rare. Everyone was drawn on Hybrid. It was fucking unreal.
Yeah, we were like, sorry guys, it's a map 4, 5-point, flashpoint gigabanger. I'm like, how?
It's like 0-7 versus 0-7, just fucking scrapping it. Like, it's unreal.
I haven't tied a map in like a year and a half. And we're talking about
tied a map since Overwatch 2 came out.
Unbelievable. Like the Overwatch League had like actual 0 draws across like ever since it went to Overwatch 2, right? Like it actually like, genuinely never happened.
First points became indefensible, like it was just over.
And the fucking Swiss stage is just fucking draw central. Every week there's 4 teams on a draw.
Well, that's what you do when you look at the end of the round of the upcoming games, and it's gonna be like, oh, by the way, there's still 6 games happening. I was like, how are there 6 games happening? How are 6 games got to this stage? It's But I also understand that there's no solution to that, right? Yeah. Because what if the format banger was SSG versus Spray Check? Then we'd all be quite happy to wait, right, and watch the game.
Yeah.
It's
yeah, they have to, but it is like, it's funny, Like the very first one in EU after round 1, it like there was like a map 4 into a fucking pause into an overtime, and it was genuinely an hour after our game finished for a fucking best of 3 to finish. It was unreal.
It's mentally exhausting too. Like if you were to like match up against a good opponent, like nobody's playing at their best because they've just been brain AFK for like 45 minutes to an hour and nobody's doing anything.
Yeah, we tried to convince a team to be a scrim partner between, so you'd like scrim a map between, but everyone said, yeah, we'll do it, and then just couldn't be asked in the moment. So
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, it's like it's Swiss, you know. You have like one match versus humans in the entire bracket. No offense to the hundreds of competitors in the Swiss bracket, but you know,
keep signing up. But
keep signing up for sure. But yes, I don't think you need warm ups and stuff in Swiss. You know, like the only time you might want to warm up in Swiss is if you're really trying to get that seed one. You know, you're trying to be that 9-0 team. You say game day 3, but it's actually any day, right? Like any day you could randomly just proc a good opponent.
Yeah, but the odds are way higher on like day 3, right?
Day 3, you could have free. Like a lot of teams had 3 good games on day 3, right?
Toronto had 3. Like actually had to play everyone, right? Play Twisted, presumably I think something similar.
Timeless, WD40, then M80 was Toronto's day 3 schedule, which is actually it's like a
your content pipeline, dude. Like that's a rigged bracket for the stream. Right? Like, that's crazy.
But it just makes sense because those are the unbeaten teams, right? So, like the thing is in EU, there was only one unbeaten team. Yeah, like only Twisted were unbeaten after like game 7. So they ended up getting like for their final game because no one else was unbeaten because everybody had kind of like beaten each other a little bit.
But there was a question raised about, because in Europe it felt like everyone who should have qualified did qualify, maybe with the exception of the Super Shy team, which was the PAC team.
Wait, there was a Pacific team. Oh no, PAC, the French.
No,
PAC,
the French fella.
He didn't get to pack it up. No way.
Well, I can't wait. Did you maybe he got the spot subsequently?
No, he didn't. He didn't.
He got packed up.
So did you guys enjoy the Swiss stage? No. Like I don't know. I was thinking, okay, fuck, because I don't know. There was part of me which actually thought that the way we were doing it was way more fucking enjoyable and way more like actually like building a community. Okay. yeah. Maybe I'm just positive, Andy. I don't know. I'm just a fucking nice guy. All right, but I felt that the fact that there was no broadcast, we had like X who was maybe running like a overall summary, which was good because it's good that someone cares about esports. Thankfully, fucking Commander X, and I like going like between like people's POV. I actually felt it was a much more engaging way. Like I was way more invested in the Switch. Like everyone watched PAC stream, right, to see like if PAC could like beat Twisted, and like his fucking followers and viewers just like fucking shut up. And you go on any streamer and they'll watch him PAC. And you're seeing like his emotions. It's a real shame, especially for tournaments. It's such a shame that teams don't do comms because it adds such an extra layer of fucking like drama and like emotion to it. But there was a part of me which watching it and I was like, fuck, this is actually way more fun than just watching the fucking broadcast. And they just cut to a fucking 10-minute break and they like. I'm not trying to fucking start another caster war here. I'm just saying like the actual like overall format of watching it through like players POV. I was way more interested in watching some games that if I saw on the main broadcast Super Shy versus Twisted, I wouldn't watch it. But getting to watch it through people's POVs, especially hearing the comms and like how like they're gonna throw and everyone was watching it like co-streaming it like if like Astro X's. I thought it was a really really like maybe more of like an authentic but quite a nice way to watch it. I enjoyed it.
I was really skeptical about because I was planning to do co-streams for like the official broadcasts. But I was really skeptical of co-streaming for Swiss because I was like, what the fuck am I co-streaming? There's no broadcast. Am I just stealing content? I'm going to watch Cloudy now. I'm going to watch Vestler now. I'm going to watch PAC now. I'm going to watch bloody JJ PT90 because he's the last team playing in round 4 or whatever. But actually, it was super enjoyable. And suddenly you see all these people who happen to be streaming 07 versus 07, suddenly their Twitch chat is full of 500 people all waiting for this game to be done. Everyone's watching, just hoping for a result to be done, and everyone's getting involved. And I think, I've spoke to a couple of null teams through private coaching. This is another advert as well. All my businesses are now just advertisements for each other. It's just shill to shill to shill to shill. It's a shill cycle, and that's never ending.
Cycle continues.
Yeah, but all of those teams did enjoy it. I understand how for the big dogs is maybe not very fun and not very exciting, a bit tedious. But for all the other teams, I think most of them actually had a great time and had a lot of competitive games and are now talking, we went 4 and 5. Next month, we can try and improve that record to something,
Hear me out.
Go on.
All right.
Was this not just happening?
Negativity?
Yeah, of course. That's what I'm here for. Was this not just happening in Open Division before? Like, were people not competing in Open Division?
Yeah,
just because you weren't watching doesn't mean the people weren't playing in OD before. How's this different to OD before? This is just
because it's the best players, no?
Yeah, but the vast majority of people in the bracket didn't get the privilege of being packed up or killed by Kevster. You know what I mean? Like
it's open division with a couple super soldiers sprinkled in and some more eyes.
Yeah.
But the super soldiers are bored as fuck.
No, dude, no, it was good fun. Like seeing like the second those next round of brackets, checking everyone's stream to see who they got, like what was exciting, like who you got. I don't know.
You're just getting excited about looking at a Swiss bracket, like finding out who your opponent is.
No, dude, like if it was what I'm saying is if it was all done on broadcast and it wasn't everyone streaming it, it would have been way, 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 way less enjoyable. You know what I was thinking this, okay? If you want to build Overwatch esports, okay? You want to fucking build something. Fucking people like fucking
He's on his soapbox.
Hunter. Oh, all we need is viewership. You just want a fucking number. But if all of your viewers are just uninterested people who are in for skins, it can't grow. But actually, when you all of a sudden get people to go to like these Twitch communities and people are actually like invested, enjoying it, typing in the chat, people actually enjoy watching it. So it grows by default. Like I think on Friday's games, I think they're not broadcasted, right? Like I'm not sure. That's what I think. Maybe I'm wrong. I think they're not broadcasted. So you'll have to go to people's streams to see the games. X can do a Super Sunday. I feel it's going to be so much more enjoyable than when on Saturday we go on and everyone's just watching like the main broadcast and then we're just cut into a 5-minute break into like... I don't fucking hate the casters. That's not what I'm trying to fucking say. But I'm saying that actually...
You heard it here first.
I don't. But
it's the title. It's going to be the title now.
I hate the casters, quote Christopher.
Seeing it through the player's eyes and watching it in real time, it's so much better. Like, especially if teams unlock comms. Like, if don't do comms for scrims, no fucking problem. Do comms for officials because no one can study it. And that's where the real fucking emotion is. Do comms for officials. Don't say any naughty words. Maybe Americans keep the comms up. It was fun. It was way more fun than any. Okay, it was more fun than any Overwatch League broadcast for the past 2 years.
I think it's more of like an argument of like consistency versus like the highs and lows. Like I feel like when you got a broadcast,
just a crazy
is it
just
totally
like
delusional?
But bro said the Swiss bracket was more fun than 2 years of Overwatch League. Like what? You're addicted to drugs. Like there's no other way about it. Like there's no way you had more fun watching that Swiss bracket than you did on like a toilet bowl match of the Overwatch.
Honest to God, think I did.
Dude, maybe we just enjoy the game differently.
It was a bit because I think the last round of Europe, the last game going was Peps against who was it like Shaka 4 or something?
On Fefe's stream,
and he's like, and Fefe is having a meltdown about every fight, every kill he's having it, and it's so good. I couldn't ask for more actually. Just watching Fefe go through every possible emotion,
way better than the fucking.
But
like,
wouldn't that just be a co-stream on a big match?
No, but it's different when it's the players and people who are actually involved, you know? Like when Flats is co-streaming it, he don't give a fuck. He just does a bit of this and then that's fucking, it's done, you know?
Let's go.
Post bomb!
That's crazy. Call of response.
Like if more teams opened it up, like especially like more teams opened it up to streaming, like I'm fairly sure we can keep co-streaming the games even when they're on broadcast, right? Like you can still stream them.
Okay.
I
don't think that's. I'm not sure if that is true.
If fucking Blizzard, honestly,
I think.
Okay, I don't want to say this.
Wait, maybe you can because they have an asset pack right now. They're saying players have to use the asset pack, which does imply they can stream them. So maybe they can play. Max, they can do it
on Saturday or Friday. There's EU games, okay? Vestola, Astro are going to stream it with comms, or they will actually broadcast. What are you watching?
The comms for sure.
Like,
what I was getting at is like you're just gassing this Swiss system. For some reason,
so
you're like
I agree. I think you're right.
I think the idea that it's more accessible, that shit is great. You know, I like being able to watch the players' comms. I like being able to watch co-streams where people are invested. I like all of that. You know, the opening up of the circuit, the getting rid of the exclusivity of the Overwatch League. That's a net positive, right? That's just way better for the viewer. The Overwatch League was shit for the viewer, you know, because even though the production value was high, it had no heart. You know, it had a bunch of people that you don't fucking care about casting the games. Because we here at Uncoachable, we hate the casters. We've said that now. Chris said multiple times we said that. Yeah. Chris fucking hates the casters. He had a bunch of people casting the games that nobody fucking cared about, really, at the end of the day, except for Zoe. We love Zoe. And then, anyway, now you can actually see like the personalities that the pros are invested in watching it. You know, so from like a pro perspective, from someone that's like really invested in the teams, it's way better. You can watch the comms. But I do think that the normies, they still, you know, the average viewer, right? The people that fill up the fucking view meter, they would still prefer watch the broadcast. Because it's kind of difficult to watch these pro streams, you know?
Maybe, but I actually...
Well, no, there was lots of complaints on Reddit of like loads of people just asking like, how do I even watch these games and what's going on? You know, like, how do they figure it out? And I can see that. Like, I think the problem is the argument isn't one or the other. Because Chris, you're presumably not arguing that every stage we just do a Swiss stage every week and that'll be better than the other thing. It's the variety is good, right? But
Max is over here. Max
go on
over here. Max is actually right. Where it's not the fuck. I don't care too much about the Swiss stage. It's everyone streaming their POVs, hopefully with comms, and getting to see the emotions live. You know, like in the next round, it won't be Swiss stage. But if I can keep watching everybody's POVs and keep up to date like that, I think it will be equally enjoyable. So I was super high on the system, but now that I have to take some introspection. It's not the Swiss stage itself, which is like mind blowing. It's the mode of watching Overwatch is way more engaging when it's done through the players, especially if they add comms.
I'll pay it. I'll pay it. But I don't want to do a Swiss system every fucking month. We have to, but that shit is boring as hell.
I mean, like on the off chance you like luckily rolled into a team that like actually had any sort of chance, like it's just like you spend like 6 to 7 hours of like a weekend day just like clubbing fucking silver players, and it's like,
dude, it's just all day long, bro. It's like
a Saturday, and this is what I'm doing. Like, especially now, I make no money. Like, this is what I'm doing this for free. Like,
it's like it was 3 days for me. It was Saturday, Sunday, Monday, watching us just fucking clobber people that have no hope, and then we have one match versus fucking Toronto, we lose, and then we just go back to fucking clobbering, and it's like, what? That was my whole weekend.
I think as well, the NA bracket had the worst of it, right? Because there was so many more, I don't have the numbers, but there were way more NA teams than EU teams signed up. There's something like that. So it meant that in EU, where we get to the stage, like the reason I streamed for Sunday, that Sunday, there was actually a good game every round. Like I was able to find like what would essentially be not even a top 16, but a top 8 game probably every single round for those last 3 rounds. And I think we got really lucky with the American one that Toronto just played all the hits. But I think America had a much harder time filtering itself out. But unfortunately, the answer to that would be to play more rounds of Swiss, which will only
piss off,
ruin the clobberer's day even more. Just more days of clobbering, I'm suggesting. But
like, go ahead. Sorry. No. I said I could clobber people just like not on a weekend, man. Like, is this really
to a Monday
and we can
with
I have to spend my Saturdays and Sundays clobbering gold players. Like, this is like when my girlfriend's off. This is like my family time, and I'm spent fucking shitting on platinum players. Do it on a Thursday. I don't care. Whatever. I'll do it.
Genuinely, weekday
clobber time.
I want this job to be like a 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. And these fucking OWCS tournaments just spawn in. The second I sign a contract, the OWCS Swiss system just spawns in, and it's like, oh, you're Saturday, Sunday, Monday, goodbye. So say goodbye to that, buddy. Collegiate tournament on Tuesday as well. Go fuck yourself. It's like, hang on. Oh, it's all gone.
Yeah.
But is the solution, because obviously Korea had to do this as well, but because Korea's tournament is 2 months, they have to do this Swiss stage like twice a year, right? Twice a year they'd have to do a Swiss stage.
Can we show the poker face rooms again?
Which from
I'll get it up.
Thank you.
But that seems a lot more reasonable, right? You have to do one in the first half of the year, one in the second half of the year, tank it for that amount of time, right? So it's the answer just like...
There should just be some like top 8 auto qualification. If you finish like top 8 in this stage,
you get to skip
into
the next one.
And then they do a Swiss stage. Yeah, maybe that's fine. All right.
Yeah, no, this is where you'll be living if you're doing like the 2-month group stage stint in Korea as well. This is the kind of these are the digs that your organization will sort you out with. We're back to old school Overwatch, where you get to literally live in a penitentiary.
Nice.
Either you're in a bunk bed
That
Or
is
It's got
food
good
on the
aesthetics
floor.
there, at least, you know, like got a good vibe there.
Yeah, no. Like
Good lighting.
that's
Good
them
lighting.
advertising there, and it genuinely looks like a prison cell.
All right.
You know when they do like, do you remember in Overwatch League when they would do like the Spark facility reveal and it was like this spaceship of a place with neon lights everywhere?
Yeah.
Picture that in your mind, then look at these bunk beds.
That's where we've come.
I thought it was funny actually because like this is just like what the standard for like Korean tier 2 accommodation was though, because like we had these things overlapping. You know, I remember Runaway before they got bought into Overwatch League, they did a house tour. And it was like, we had the Overwatch League mega mansions, like season 1 mega mansions, actual like ridiculousness accommodation. And then you see the Runaway house tour and it's like 7 dudes in a room just sleeping on the floor. Like it's genuinely fucking awful living conditions. And like Runner and Flavin are just walking around the house being like, look at this amazing place that we've got for the players. It's like 7 men to a futon. Like, fuck.
Luxury living.
This is where the magic happens.
No, but genuinely, that was the profitable model of Overwatch esports, not for the tier 1 teams, but Korean tier 2 used to actually be this like genuinely like profitable venture because you could house like 10 Korean kids, put them all on a futon, singular, and then sell them to an Overwatch League organization for
You just need to sell
$200K
like
for some
one.
reason.
Yeah, just sell one and you paid for the whole flop.
It's funny because
Yeah, it was like
Runner has got this unbelievable reputation as like the fucking nicest guy possible. I feel like we've just exposed him as some sort of like almost like child trafficker or something, you know? But,
that's all Korean tier 2 ever is. You know, it's like they take a bunch of 15-year-old boys and they make them slaves.
I think
the
for clarity,
title.
we're not trying to indict Runner here. Just all of Korean tier 2.
That's it.
We're trying to load them all in. We're trying to throw it all under the bus.
Fucking went in on Korea.
Name a single other tier 2.
Element Mystic.
O2 Blast.
Dead.
Yeah, all child
Also
traffickers.
dead. No?
Yeah.
But they love it. They love it.
They
You know?
just cashed
It's like,
out of the poor living expenses or
And they
working.
ran, yeah.
Yeah, and then they just
No, O2 Boss, he sold Proper, he sold Junebin, he sold Max, never seen him
that's
again.
it.
He's disappeared off the face of the earth.
Fuck, dude. Like all good human traffickers.
That's a boss
Yeah.
move, though, I can't lie.
Okay, we had a few technical difficulties. It's mainly Chris's fault again. I don't know why it's always Chris's fault, but
Typical.
it is Chris's fault. But we're probably at the point where we maybe want to look at our brand new post-disqualification groups. And where do we want to start? Do you want to start in North America out of respect to our guest?
Sure.
Let's give it a whirl.
I feel like NA is so fucking boring.
This-
I'll keep it real with you guys.
This
Yeah.
bracket had changed because there was the 16th place, like it's like a quadruple tiebreaker issue
it was
they
like
had where
six
everything was tied.
tiebreaker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Can we get a
And so-
Discord screen share going? I can't even read this.
Yeah, this is like blurrier than something really blurry, you know?
Yeah, this is like blurrier than blurry.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll put a better reference in post for that.
That's what Unter's always so good for, you know? Like he like those little quick-witted something like something.
Yeah, I haven't got it today. I think I've been eating a lot of gummy shark, which is like fish from the local bay, and it has a lot of mercury in it. And like I've had it I had it while we were recording last week and then twice again this week. So I think I've made myself like
You
irreparably
got mercury
stupid.
poisoning?
Yeah, because I like supplement. I eat tins of tuna as well, which is also high in mercury. So I think I've just been eating like way too much high heavy metal seafood, and I've lost my touch
Okay.
because I have brain damage now.
Fair enough.
All right. Well, let's put that
Uncoachable
brain damage to
exclusive.
good use, and let's do some NA predictions.
Yeah.
So let's see the groups.
Keep scrolling.
Down.
Down.
yeah.
Hey, there we go.
Oh, so Group A. Group A is looking
Bro.
Toronto favored.
What a bunch of shit this is. All right, Group A, just 3
Nice.
dogs in Toronto. Group
Fuck.
B, me and Gravy
Oh,
just fucking
wait.
scrapping it out.
Wait, there's a new logo now in Group B.
Luminosity Gaming?
Whoa!
Yeah.
Who's that?
Ooh.
What?
Oh my god! Yeah, everyone is gassing up this Luminosity signing so much, and they're like, "This is so good for the scene." Explain how. Explain how.
Because there's a big org getting into Overwatch.
Explain it to me. Tell me what's so great about this. I'm not against it, right? But it's like
Org
I
equal
want to
good.
know. Yeah,
More
income
orgs,
equal
more
good.
money, income good.
But it's
Graph
like
trend up. Overwatch back.
a big Twitter account equal good, I think. So yeah, looks good to me, guys. Maryville is
Congratulations,
now
Meg.
Maryville X Luminosity.
Congrats, bro.
They're going to
Yeah.
use a clip of this in their announcement video for this.
Yeah. Oh. So,
So, yeah,
yeah, Group B
two-way
is just
dogfight.
Luminosity versus WD-40.
A two-way dogfight for 2 spots, I guess, is the caveat here. So
Not much of a dogfight at all. No, it's
Yeah.
it's a dogfight for a long weekend, I think, because if you go 2-0, you don't have to play the third game, I think is my understanding.
No, so the way I think it's the opposite. Well, not the opposite. That's not English. If you go 2-0, you don't play the next week. So if whichever one of you two loses that game on the Saturday or Sunday, will have to play the following Saturday or Sunday.
That's what I was saying. You're playing for a long weekend. Or a week off.
Yeah, a week
Yeah,
off.
you're playing for a week off, sorry.
Yeah.
Because you won't have to work next week.
And then you get to like spend like the whole week like prepping for finals. So like there is like a nice advantage to get through.
Wait, do you? Okay, no, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a really weird
Trying to
round
read the
robin
schedule
format.
now.
It's
Yeah,
not
I
like
thought the format was going to be different. I thought there was a really logical approach where they could get all 4 games on broadcast every day because there's 20 games, 5 days, 4 games a day. But they've actually done it where they've just thrown the first 8 games on the Friday, which I really think is off stream, but I'm not 100%. And then 3 games a day after that. But like I guess the 3 games is awkward because there's 4 groups. So like we're D group, so we won't play on the Saturday. We'll play. It's just it's slightly on the Mickier side of things, but it's not too bad.
You guys are just saying words, and I'm like agreeing. Like I know we play games and we win, we lose. Go next.
I think you'll play on Friday and then you'll play on Saturday. If you win both, then you don't have to play again until 2 weeks, like for the top 8.
Okay. So I want to win.
Yeah, if Hunter beats you, then you're gonna have to play again the next week against either the teams like Citrus or Bang Pow Galaxy. So,
oh man,
unsure if you'll get through.
But yeah, it's actually it means the second weekend is going to be just 6 games then. Am I in terms of 2 days, 6 games on the second
3
weekend?
games a day,
just all the decider games essentially between the 2 remaining teams.
Yeah.
Or no, all the decider games and a couple of elimination games as well.
Yeah.
Sort of there's like a real disparity in that. For some groups, it's all going to happen on the first weekend, and if you're a C or D group kind of person, your I'm getting this right. Your elimination match will be bumped to the next weekend.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's an awkward schedule, but I don't know. Could have been more evenly spread for sure. And then if we hit Group C, this is like, I don't know. Are we kind of in the same situation? It's just like it's just a 2-horse race.
It's Timeless Oblivion, Luca's team.
Was Luca's team. They've cut Luca, if I'm not mistaken, right?
No, he's just benched. He's benched, right?
Oh, he's benched. Okay. Hopefully he comes back. Dude, that's what we need.
He posted LFT. I think they might have actually.
I think he's dead.
I think McGravy's right. I think they cut him, and then at the last minute he came back as a bench player. Like because I
just remember him saying
salary demands were too high.
His name is benched me or something.
Tread,
like that.
right? He got tread headed.
Team UK legend. It's going to become increasingly difficult for me and Chris to not take Tread to the next World Cup and take Smex instead. Tread is now trending up, but we'll find a way. Don't you worry, Tread. We'll find a way.
So
yeah, well, Luca was like simultaneously like enhancing like the whole Sam drama and like making my job harder, and while at the same time like literally like on his hands and knees like begging me like, I know Cluj is not on the team, please like just give me a chance. And
what was he doing? Was he doing a drama stream?
Yeah, he had like all of NA tier 2, just like, and there was just people throwing out like wild accusations in that chat, like just the most fucking unreal shit I've ever seen. Like my name was like people are sending me chats of like my name being involved with like Aspire and Dreamcast, and I was like, can you just like ban my name from being typed in that chat? That'd be much appreciated. Like,
fuck, I love Luca, dude.
Yeah, I mean he was kind of taking the piss with what he was doing in that stream, you know. Like not only is he begging for a team all the way through, talking about how he's making a team with this, that, and the other. He's just fucking throwing out people's names, just like completely unsubstantiated accusations, and then backpedaling the accusation and be like, oh, it's all, there's no evidence for any of this, but I'm going to say Hydron's name one more time. Like, it was just fucking ridiculous, you can't do that shit and then expect anyone to want to play with you ever again. You know what I mean? As if he doesn't already have like a little bit of difficulty with getting on a team because, he might be a little bit silly when it comes to the mental department.
Silly.
Yeah, doing stuff like that is like not a good way to make future connections to get onto a team. You know what I mean? Like just trashing on players and insinuating that they're racist. That's what we do on Uncoachable.
I was going to say, can we talk about how good we were last week? We literally said that team, the fucking Seekers team, is racist. That's why I don't want to share comms. And I'm sure we made jokes about like some of them dropped the M word. I think I got the player wrong, but unbelievable accuracy from us. No, like to fucking get that like spot on without any information.
The problem was we were just taking the piss. Like it was just like I don't think any of us had a clue, right?
No, that turns out to be true. Maybe we're one of those people who can like see the future. Like,
prophets,
clairvoyant.
Yeah, well, maybe we're one of those. Should we accuse anyone else of racism while we're here, just in case?
Should we see how if we can keep a hot streak going? Who's the next on the accusation? Who's going to be next week's expose?
I've already been hit once. Please. I'm begging you, man, please.
Who's on WD-40? Let's have. Oh no.
By the way, we didn't talk about the Nico stuff too, right? Are we looking to dodge that, or are we going to?
Oh no, I want to go in on the French Panther, dude. Sneaking around the PPA.
Let's take a detour. Let's take a detour via France.
This is such a... So the rumor is this, okay? And you guys can correct me where I'm wrong. Team USA were in the practice facility. They had to go out to do content photos or something, right? During that time, the French team, Nico is the name that gets mentioned, probably, sneaked into their room, checked their PCs, went on their Discord, searched the N-word in the fucking chat, took screenshots, waited till roster lock, and blew them up.
Sounds about
is that right?
Yeah, that was
sounds about right.
Yeah,
that's unbelievable ratty behavior. Like, what the fuck, dude? It's not like you stumbled upon it. You actually had to type the letters in. I had a question: is it actually even illegal? Like, is it not like an actual like privacy concern?
I guess it's this weird thing, right? Because if I was to go in and just steal McGravy's email, I've stolen. But what if I was stealing McGravy's email in the aims of exposing a bigger crime?
I don't think no way the law protects it. It's like, oh, you can break into
everyone's
people's
guilty,
PCs.
Everyone's guilty, right?
Yeah, you can break into people's PC, but only if you search for the M word. It's like the only one that you're allowed to do. Like, I was thinking this, like, I don't know. I'm fairly sure it breaks some sort of fucking actual law, like invasion of privacy, theft, fucking something, But like, fuck me, like, how much of a fucking cunt do you have to be? Let's keep it real.
There's like two sides of it as well, because even from because I thought initially it was going to be, when I first heard like the French connection, I really thought it was just going to be, because the way the practice facilities work in these events is you have a practice facility and then you have a schedule, and maybe the next day you'll have a different room, or in the afternoon you have a different room. So I thought it was just, they forgot to log out of their Discord account, but next players
happens
come
all the time, right? Like,
yeah.
I've had to log so many people's like out of their DMs or their Twitters or something, like all the time.
I thought it was that. And I thought that was just like a kind of opportunistic rather than, but the sneaking in while they were doing content does add a level of
like extreme
malicious.
Yeah.
And I think as well, it should be said as well, like if you were truly, I don't know what word, like virtuous, or you were like, these players should be exposed. I don't think they're the role models that maybe everyone thinks they are. They should be exposed and therefore held accountable for their crimes. What you do is you take those screenshots and then you post them, or you talk to the org directly, or talk to the connected college directly. What you don't do is just sit there for ages. Sit there. Ooh, roster deadline day. This would be a bad time for this to happen, wouldn't it? Wouldn't this be the worst possible time for this? Because what you do then is, even if you think, wow, Sam deserved it no matter what. Well, did McGravy deserve it? Did Seeker deserve it?
Maybe.
Next week. But you fuck every. There's loads of collateral damage now, right? And it's It comes across as very, very spiteful, very malicious.
And then this like anonymous Twitter account, which like was doing it, like fucking viewer OW, was like posting like, oh, it's why did M80 drop the team? That's like so fucking unfair. Like, why did you do that? Like, you should have just like dropped the players. And it's like, well, yeah, you fucking give them 30 minutes. Like, yeah, fucking give them fucking longer. Like, fucking post this shit when you have it. Like, this.
Well, talk to them. Go talk to M80.
Yeah.
Don't post if you're not concerned. Go talk to M80 and give them a chance to resolve the issue themselves.
This fucking guy with a fucking anonymous Twitter profile picture, always these fucking people, and then just like fucking tweeting as if like they're doing like the right thing, like they weren't just in it for clout. They just didn't realize they had a fucking story. Like, I don't know.
I'm on his timeline now. They've retweeted Seeker and Liars looking for team, Fred.
Yeah,
or post. Which just seems like
at least they gave him a retweet
asking him for chaos.
Even Steven, right? Like,
yeah, I'll cut your career for my own Twitter account, but I'll give you a retweet, mate. Don't you worry about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think this person is already like post being cancelled once and rebranding, you know, like their name wasn't always Viewer. I think it used to be something else. But then I think they got into their own like
Owl Opinions or something like that.
Oh, that's Owl Opinions, right? Yeah. And then I think they were like, something weird, right? They were pretending to be black or something ridiculous. Is that?
I heard it's something a little more nefarious than that.
Go on then, tell us. Let's get him.
I don't want to. I mean, again, that like it's. I don't want to throw out like shit that I don't know. Unlike other people, but
DM me, I'll throw it out.
We'll get Luca on. He'll throw it out.
We should do a 5-minute Luca interview every single time.
Just like our weather section where we throw it to Luca for the latest rumors and updates. What's the word on the street today, Luca?
Yeah. Just give it to him. Just throw it out there. Just to throw him a bone.
All right. So, yeah, I don't know. Obviously, probably shouldn't spam the M word a lot in Discord. I think no one's going to disagree with me there. Anyone want to take that stand? Yeah. But also, you're a massive fucking cunt if you're just going in looking to fucking end people's careers, like sneak it in. Fucking. So, yeah, everyone's a bit of a fucking ball bag in this situation. Anyway, the groups.
Yeah, how about them groups?
What about those groups?
Group C.
Actually, yeah. Don't worry about that, guys. We can go back to Poggin right now. Group C.
So bad, man. That's just
See, we're reading out these groups, and I'm like a part of this like whole thing, and all of the red names for the most part. I don't know who these people even are and who plays. So
I feel like it's so obvious who like gets out of each group, right? Like the only thing is like the M80 finished with Timeless. Maybe it's like actually like a really close dogfight at the moment.
It doesn't make a huge difference because the way the top two go through is you go into a double elimination bracket, but it's just 8 teams, right? So you just play the top person of another group. So I guess maybe
it's like
for some of these,
seeding.
So like if you're Group B, for example, say you're McGravy and Unter, the difference between finishing first and playing, I don't know, Daybreak or Critical Role and finishing second and playing Toronto in your first game might actually be a pretty significant change.
Yeah. But
I guess Group D might actually be the closest. Because
I literally don't know.
Pirates in Pajamas. The students of the game is that's the Cow team. The Cow and Rack team. You know, friend of a podcast, right?
Soggy. Hashtag Soggy. Yeah.
Soggy. Yeah, so I don't know. Fuck it. Actually,
fuck it. There's boring ass groups, bro. Not a single upset.
It's not the Swiss stage. I'm not interested. I'm a Swiss fan. I'm a Swiss head.
Can't wait till next month where we do a 5-hour special on the Swiss predictions with Chris breaking down every potential round.
I mean, there's going to be so much heart in those games. Is the thing, you know? Like it's just the level of emotion with the communication.
Yeah,
it's going to be fun. Shut the fuck up.
The community outreach.
Can we do the EU bracket now, please?
I'm right.
All right. So our brand new EU bracket, pending any further disqualifications, feels like we can't rule it out in this stage, but hopefully we're done for now. Team A, Twisted Minds. Maybe do we want to talk a little about Twisted Minds have sort of emerged 9-0?
Yeah, kind of a shock, right?
Yeah, everyone. I think the presumption was Spray Check was the best team in Europe, and everyone maybe felt that way. But then Twisted Minds weren't really expected to 9-0 this stage and finish top seed.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of scary in a way because like my understanding of Twisted Minds was they went to Korea, they got fucked by teams playing dive, and for some reason they thought, well, we'll just play dive. But obviously anyone could have told you that, sorry guys, you're European, like dive is just not the way. So they came back playing dive and really struggled in EU. Like they were probably one of the better teams, right? Like I don't think it's like fair to say they were struggling, but they weren't dominating. And I feel like they had like this unbelievable dogfight against a team called Super Shy where they should have fucking lost. Like they should have lost. Unbelievable that they won that, like fucking some absolute like comp decisions and just like super unlucky moments. And then it seems like they just said, fuck it, we'll just play the Ram comp, which everyone plays. And then they mirrored Spray Check, who have been playing that Ram comp since day one, winning every scrim, and they just fucking dogged them like on like an hour's notice. Which maybe is like scary for Spray Check specifically, depending on how much you read into the game.
When they were losing, were they playing Doom?
Yes.
Against Super Shy, yeah.
And they were playing like the weird
version.
Quartz roster, like Quartz on the bench shit.
Yeah.
No, it was Quartz on Echo. They made a decision. Because originally when they played Saudi against Rock, it was Yubi on Tracer, as you'd expect, and Lubda on Echo, which feels like it makes sense, right, if you're going to play that DPS lineup. But then after the Rock game, the next game I saw, I don't know if you guys saw different scrims, but the next game I saw, suddenly Quartz was on Echo, and it was looking quite good, but obviously it was Saudi E-League, so you're sort of like, how good is he when he really stacks up? And then they just loaded the Quartz roster in and kept that going for OWCS until they got to the point where they just needed to hit the Ram button.
Yeah. But then it looked like the second they picked that Ram comp, they were just fucking good.
I think people forget that, like Twisted is just the best rush team in Europe, like they're just insane at that stuff. I mean, you did the eyebrow raise there. But I guess, maybe there's a bit of contention for that nowadays because, the London core is back. But Twisted is like fucking insane at that comp, like has been dominating Europe in that comp forever. And it's like you put Quartz on any sort of like hit scan or hit scan adjacent hero. You put KSA on a ground tank where you can just go and you just like, fuck it, like they're going to win shit. Like it's just going to happen. And I feel like people kind of maybe forgot that because they went to Asia and they smoked the APAC like crazy, like they convinced themselves that dive was meta and they needed to put KSA on Doom and they needed to put Quartus on the bench. Nonsense, fucking nonsense. Come back to Europe, square up in an honest mirror where Medi gets on fucking Ramatra and just call it a day. That team is terrifying on that shit. I feel like I'd be 100 times more scared to verse KSA on Ram than KSA on Doom. Quartz in the server, like, hitting a headshot versus Quartz.
When I was watching like the games and stuff,
the heroes.
When I was watching the games on Commander X's Twitch channel,
shout out.
Yeah, I was like, fucking KSA actually looks like I felt like he was a step above Vestola in the Ram stuff. Like I thought like KSA looks really fucking good. And like I feel like it's interesting because everybody talks about Kevster just being like that, like number one EU player, right? Like at level above. But depending on who you talk to, I think a lot of people think Quartz is clearly the best hit scan in Europe. I feel like that's unquestionable. A lot of people that I've spoken to think Quartz is the best hit scan in the world. Haddy, I think, actually thinks Quartz is the best player in the world. Like, actually, just thinks he's genuinely just like the best across like multiple heroes, And there was probably a world in which actually like these like Kevster on Spray Checking and Quartz on Twisted, you might actually have like two of like. It depends on how highly you rate. Quartz is fucking unbelievable, right? Like that's just like an objective fact. It just depends how highly you rate him. But you can make an argument he's better than Kevster. I think it's really not an unreasonable argument, even though Kevster is like unbelievable in himself.
I think people have felt that way for a while. I mean, even like last year, like before we ended up getting Merit on our team, we offered Quartz $100,000 and he said no. Like,
yeah. It's crazy because like if Quartz had come to Florida, I feel like Quartz would have just been clean better than Merit. Like. People see Merit and they're like, this is a generational performance on Sojourn. And it's like, just wait until you see Quartz, like he's even better.
You should have seen our other option.
Yeah, you should have seen the other guy.
Yeah. So I think they look fucking good. Like to me, the question is like, they know how to play the mirror, but like, they clearly couldn't beat dive in Korea. Can they beat like some of the European dive teams is like the question. Do they have like a swap? Because when we played against like Spray Check, it felt like they were pretty solid in terms of their understanding of how to play against dive. Like we could have beat them and it was like super fucking close, but they knew what they were doing. They had swaps. Like the question is, will Twisted get that same system? But I don't know. I don't know. In the mirror, I don't know if anyone beats Twisted.
My suspicion is very much I mean, maybe they would have struggled in Korea anyway, as is the nature of playing these top Korean teams. But actually, if they had played these Korean teams in like just a Brawl Mirror, it would have been actually Twisted Minds winning. But the big question is, and my suspicion is, maybe that Twisted Minds aren't good. They're not just so inherently, versus the dive. If they can't be in a mirror situation, then they start to struggle to find the same things.
Yeah.
Then the question is, how many of these European teams are actually, you know what, are Spray Check really going to actually opt out of the rush mirror? Are they really going to go to a dive comp? I mean, obviously, maybe SSG would, right? But maybe EXO would. But
yeah,
it's hard for a lot of teams, and it kind of makes Twisted Minds this new sort of like, I guess, potential end boss of rush.
Yeah, and the problem is Twisted are the best team now, and they don't stream their scrims. So that's so fucking annoying that they're getting all this practice. Like the thing is, like every team in Europe is just scrimming Twisted and just accepting that those scrims won't be streamed, and then just streaming their other scrims. But it's like so fucking stupid. Like it's like counterproductive. I think it's just.
Did people know before that match that Twisted was like the best, or were they just perma coping on Doom?
They literally they were like playing like dive like mostly
almost
like,
everywhere.
It looked like yeah. Twisted should have lost to Super Shy. Like they were super down, and then just said, "Fuck it, we'll just take the mirror," and then they just fucking ran through Spray Check, who basically hadn't lost a scrim for like 2 months.
Yeah.
My understanding is Twisted Minds were super dive pilled to the degree they were even looking to potentially bring in another player to fill obviously like the Doom weakness. Because KSA's not got the same level of experience, but obviously,
but they couldn't figure out whether Chase Torch was Ukrainian or Russian, so they had to pass.
That's weird.
But I guess Team Peps are just the second team out of this group. Maybe
Team Peps are a massive winner now, right? Because they were in a group where they were like that old group looked really competitive. Like it was really possible they didn't get through. But all of this like disqualification stuff means that Team Peps should make top 8. So they've got really good. In Group B, I feel like it's gone the other way. Like Spray Check had the easiest group by far, I think. They had like nobody, and now they have Left, Right, Goodnight and Quick, who I think they'll beat both. Like I don't think it's anything to like for Gumba to be losing sleep over. Not that he sleeps anyway.
Yeah, I was gonna say he didn't sleep in the first place. So
nothing to worry about. You don't sleep over.
Yeah, but in theory, I guess they went from having the least competitive group to, in a way, like I would argue the most competitive. Like Left, Right versus Quick Esports are both like real teams of real players that could maybe go the distance.
I can't remember how it lined up before, but potentially the worst thing out of this is Group A and B match, right? So first plays second from Group A and B. So now they match with Twisted Minds group. But I guess that maybe it actually works out, because if they both finish first, they go opposite sides of a bracket. So maybe this is actually better for Spray Check in the long term, even if their group stages technically harder. It means they don't have to play Twisted until later in the tourney.
Yeah.
But then I guess like Left, Right, Goodnight and Quick is a dogfight.
I think so on paper. I feel like Left, Right, Goodnight is better on paper, but they have everybody on big ping. So I feel like that's just such a fucking... Especially if you're trying to play like Doom Tracer comps, I don't know. I think you're asking for like so difficult to play that comp on ping. So I feel like that looks really rough for them. So I don't know, but I don't know. Maybe they can still qualify, to be fair.
Yeah, I think it all comes down to that, I guess, that game really. It's pretty 50-50. Then maybe the biggest benefiters of this shuffle might be Rock Esports if we look at their group now. Rock Esports are now looking at a Sheer Cold, Bingus trio.
That's so fucking free. Good grief. Bingus. Bingus. We are so back as an esport. Bingus in the mix.
Checkmate versus Bingus. Tune in. Well, don't tune in. You won't get to see it, but
maybe the players will stream.
You'll hear about it.
Comms, you know,
they won't.
Well, the Bingus guys might stream.
Yeah, I'm a Bingus head.
So yeah, Rock are probably going to be cruising through that one. I mean, I think it's probably just a bad meta to be this type of team. A lot of their one tricks may be a little bit hampered by this current patch. So maybe Sheer Cold will get through. I don't know.
When's the last time has had a good patch going for him? Do you think?
Well, in my opinion,
right for him, right?
In my opinion, the worse the patch, the better it is for The problem have got is ball is meta, so everyone is like used to playing against it. So they're trying to. They need their heroes to be dog shit to win. That's how it works. The more viable their heroes, the less viable they are at winning.
Did you say ball is meta? Because I don't think I've seen a ball in a scrim since Luca got benched from Timeless Obsidian.
We're balling out. We've been balling out. It's okay. It
North
might not be
America.
meta, but it's way fucking more viable than it's been in fucking 2 years.
Fair.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
There's just not a lot of ball players in NA, you know? It's like Mikey, and he's
I don't think he's playing anymore, is he?
he's gone.
Yeah, what Kalu's gonna play ball before he retired? Is Hawk gonna play ball?
No, Hawk is just one primal away from greatness on
Infected,
Winston.
maybe like
I reckon
Strider.
Strider. Strider's
Strider?
genuinely insane at that.
Okay,
hero.
Strider. We've got a couple sleepers there. Like,
Who's on this Citrus team? Like Citrus.
we played them, and I honestly don't know. So
That's good.
Is that the Ericek team, Citrus?
I think
I casted Critical Role versus Citrus, and Ericek's team
Derpy
won.
might be on that roster.
It says Scissors is on it, but Scissors is not on it, like because he's gone. Yeah,
I'd have
it's
to-
the
this is the
Ericek.
Derpy team.
Citrus is the Ericek team.
Yeah, it is Ericek. Ericek's just an imposter on that roster. Everyone else is American.
Yeah, I would say it's like Taps, Avertings, Z-Man. I don't know who the other person is, but yeah, that's roughly their roster.
I think I know many people on this roster. This is Oops.
I was talking to Chow the other day, and Z-Man nearly joined EXO. So maybe he's good. Maybe he's good.
Worldwide.
Speaking of EXO, they're going to be in Group D with Chris's very own SSG. And this is actually probably, I mean, there's a clear top 2 in this group, right? But obviously it matches up quite nicely with Group C because you get to play probably Bingus, I imagine.
Yeah, so obviously motivation
Don't sleep on Bingus
to win the group. But yeah, obviously we played EXO in the Swiss stage and it went quite well. So hopefully we can do it. We'll need to see if Psycho is doing some extreme military training or not. But either way, we should be okay.
Did you expect to win that game against EXO?
The thing is, okay, so here's what I'll say, and it's like, I don't know, you can take me for my word or you can assume I'm lying, but I feel like the thing with streaming scrims is I think everybody like really doesn't understand scrims still. Like I think I said this last week, but it's like there was like a scrim against EXO, for example, where we went like lost 2-4, you streamed it, right? And the last 2 maps, like we were fucking all over the place, right? We were playing Ram against Dive, losing. We were playing against Dive against Ram. We were struggling. We were getting comp swapped. Everything went wrong. And then for 2 maps, we just mirrored the Dive. We played with Winston Reaper. And we just fucking rolled them on those 2 maps, you know? And people will take away from that scrim, like SSG lost. But the reality somewhere is that we just like found a really good answer for their comp. And then when we went into the official, we just played the comp, which we had the answer, and then we beat them, you know? So like for us, I think we're pretty confident like against that team, even though in theory, like our scrim results like haven't been super good, like especially the ones that the public have seen, you know? I mean, I think we scrimmed them last night and we won like 7-0 playing like the same sort of stuff. So they will 100% need to like find an answer to our Reaper comp because at the moment they don't have it. But yeah.
That actually sounded dangerously like Kasaris theory there. You win 2 maps in a scrim and then that becomes your solution for the match exclusively, you know? That sounds...
Well, Toronto did the same thing to M80, right? Where they lost in the warm-up scrim, but Toronto are just doing this thing where they're just like playing like every comp randomly. And they just kind of like eventually figure out which ones are viable, which ones work, and then just play what works and then kind of win, you know?
That's the type of shit I've been on in NA. I can't lie. Just fucking spin the comp wheel every single day, you know? Like, let's try one more matchup, you know? Like one more goofy ass comp.
Yeah.
Aris is the answer this time.
Like for us, it's been like we've been really all over the place. Like we were kind of like Dive pilled, then we felt Dive couldn't work against Moira. So then like it just felt like we were never able to beat EXO and then not EXO, Spray Check, and then presumably Twisted in like the Moira mirrors. Like it just felt like we were really struggling because obviously we want to get first, right? We're not just looking to compete top 3, we really want to win. And so then we kind of like fluxing back and forth. We kind of realized that we should like our roster needed like some additions. So we got like Psycho in, who I think Psycho's fucking unbelievable, by the way. Like
he's really underrated. Like it was generally to a point like if I had money and like I was talking about it, like I felt like he would be someone like worth like importing. I think I think that's level of talent. I think he has
that role in America, definitely.
Here's the thing with Psycho. Psycho for the last like month has been doing 5 days a week in fucking Austrian military. So he's been like fucking running marathons with backpacks and all this crazy shit. He came in and he played just like hadn't played for a week. He played those officials against Spray Check, and I was on his POV and I'm like, fuck me, this guy is like unbelievably good considering he literally hasn't even been playing. Like I was shocked at like his level of mechanics and stuff. So I actually think Psycho is like right now really, really unbelievable. And this is a perfect Psycho meta, right? Like Tracer and Echo, his best two heroes. So I think especially like Psycho maybe finishes next week. So we'll get at least 1 week with him before like the top 8 games, like the double of limb bracket. So I think he is a really, really, really fucking good player. And I think that he like complements our roster really nicely too.
It was added quite last minute as well, right? Because he was originally going to be on X Oblivion for quite a while.
Yeah, I had to kind of figure it out. Like originally, obviously the roster was going to be as 5, but then I kind of saw how things would go. And like one thing that I've been kind of realizing is that like, you know, like when we were in Overwatch League last season, we did the Rhine swap, right? Like to go off meta and to play your own strengths. I realized actually it's impossible to do that without 4 months of being fucking abused on the meta, because it's so difficult to convince players to not play the meta if like they think that they can. It's like really difficult to play an off meta comp and lose and not like admit that we have to mirror it. And I realized the only reason we were able to do it so successfully on London, because what you have to do is you have to start, like it's not like when we picked Ryan we started to win, right? We were still losing a lot. We had to learn so much, we had to build so much structure. But the only way you're ever allowed as a coach to build that structure up is there has to be like the players have to know, well, if we go back to dive, we're just gonna get fucking shit on. There has to be no hope on the meta for it to work. And what I kind of realized with us in EU now is it's a lot harder for us to kind of like do our own thing, because we're probably going to be pretty good at the meta against these other EU teams anyway. You know, like we have a pretty fucking well-rounded, like flexible roster. And actually what we needed to do was just kind of like embrace our identity as just a normal Overwatch team where we just kind of play whatever. And then if there becomes a point in time when we're playing like against the Korean teams, if we then need to kind of like go back into doing what we're doing back in the day, maybe that's the way to do it. And I felt like, yeah, like obviously all love to Jamie, but like his hero pool has limitations. I think that's probably like as a flex, like DPS. And then I've been really impressed with Spark's Tracer, but it's also not like the level of like the big dogs, whereas being able to kind of like bring in Psycho who covers some of those heroes and has like a truly world-class Tracer, I think is kind of a no-brainer for us.
I think that's like same kind of mindset kind of applies to like how we thought on like Florida, like me and Gumba's. Like we like built this roster up on the fact that like if there was a counter swap to be made, we're gonna make it all the time. But like that like is a system that takes like months to like, if not like years, to literally get to a point of perfection. Like Toronto is capable of doing that because of like they kept the core of Florida and they were able to transition that into a different roster. But like I can't coach my team that way when it's completely new. You know, you can't do a full swap meta with a player, you know, a set of players that we, you know, got on a roster 40 minutes for the deadline. That's just, it's literally impossible. Like you have to have 5 people on board. Two of them, you know, have pretty like mid English, like Top Dragon's not bad, but MCD doesn't really understand English all that well. And one's never worked with the Korean, like It's just impossible to have that kind of mindset.
Wait, I thought MCD had crazy English. I thought he was one of those Koreans that like used to QA ranked a bunch back before he made out.
It's not bad. It's not bad, but like he's not like your checkmate who can like form like coherent thoughts. I think like you know, mid map. It's like kind of like in between maps.
Yeah, I feel like if you're like a new team and you want to do the counter swap, your team's just going to swap to the same hero as the enemy team's on, you know, like it's always what's going to happen, you know, like you could even like say it like in some of like the Spray Check versus like Toronto scrims, like when it was like Shambali, like eventually they just fucking like Toronto just gave in and said, I will just play fucking Soja and Moira too, you know, and obviously Spray Check did the same thing to Twisted where like, fuck it, we just have to play these heroes. It's really, really difficult, I think, to convince Overwatch players that like, the reason they're losing might not be because they just aren't inferior heroes, you know, and like that's what the mirror always does. Is it just like kind of puts everyone's mindset back to, oh yeah, we're on the even heroes, so it's like this is the way to do it, you know.
Yeah, I think Toronto are still playing a lot of comps. To be fair, I mean, obviously, like you know, you said the benefit of if you're just winning all the scrims anyway, it's really easy to be the experimental team. But also, when I look at like you talk about the swap meta, well, they've essentially just got the Florida core, right? So when I see them doing the swap meta, like I feel like they're still playing a little bit of like rock, paper, scissors, but it's mainly just someone swapping his hero to play like tank, rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah, no, I think Toronto's doing it well. I meant more like specifically like when they were playing like the Ram Mirror, you could see over time, like as they lost more fights, they just thought, fuck it, we just need to go Moira. We just like that's what they finished on.
Yeah.
And that's like I think that's what like I think that's what happened to Twisted too, where it's like eventually just like fuck it, let's just like play like the same sort of stuff that everyone else was playing.
So yeah, I think that really covers Europe and NA. Was there any other news from Europe and NA that was worth covering? Anyone else shot dead in the street that we forgot to honor?
Don't think so.
No,
all right,
not really.
We can talk about Korea briefly. It was probably what could be only described as the most boring possible weekend of Korean Overwatch. As it was a 3-0, 9 games in a row.
Awesome.
Which maybe doesn't fill you with hope. I think, to be fair, like if you'd looked at these games beforehand, you probably would have mostly predicted the same result for all of these games. I think like the bottom 2 teams like Simprisa and Vesta played all 3 days, which is obviously just a bad omen, you know. But there should be better games this week. Maybe the biggest loser was Genesis, just looked a bit shit. Genesis is the Decay team. Decay, Kellen, Choi So-wan, Maka, Terry the Terrorist.
Maka Teru backline. I mean, I feel like we're trying to make like a Korean super roster. That's kind of a rough shake there on the backline.
Well, it starts really well, doesn't it? Like Kellen, Decay, Choi So-wan seems good. Maka, all right, we could do something. Who's our main support?
Yeah.
Because there's so many good main supports in Korea as well, right? There's so many options in terms of like Violet. I mean, obviously, like maybe like Chio's spoken for, right? But like Lee Jae-gong, Violet, even like Bliss or Faith or something, right? Would be like
they're all locked up, right? Like,
well, they're locked up, but just locked up in like they're locked up in another group of guys who know each other. You know, they're not all locked up, without the exception of like Chio. I guess Lee Jae-gon technically as well, but I don't know. It's still like I feel like Bliss or Faith was like the missing ingredient here in terms of like upgrading that roster. But the big choice of one looked really like exposed on Echo. So maybe Genesis are in the bin, but other than that, it was probably a pretty standard week in Korea. So I don't think too much to talk about there. Which means
no one's streaming their comms in Korea. Boring.
We wouldn't be able to understand it anyway. We need a translator.
The passion.
I can
show off. Then I guess it's the real reason any of us get out of bed in the morning. It's time to do the quiz.
Oh my god.
Unbelievable, the quiz heads. I just want to say thank you so much to all the quiz heads out there. Like the support for the quiz has made me
They actually need zero encouragement. Every time I release a video, every time I go live, there's going to be a quiz in this, right? When's the quiz starting? Have I missed the quiz? What great video would be better with a quiz next time? Every time. I'm being swarmed. And now I've said it out loud, I'm just going to I've sealed my own fate now and I will get swarmed more.
So here's what I've done. So I wanted to keep a similar theme to last week, but obviously I can't do the top 10 or bottom 10 players anymore. So what I wanted to do is this. Both of you have coached or played for LA Valiant in your time. And I thought, fuck, does anyone on LA Valiant have a winning record? That's what I thought to myself. I Googled it. Not that many. So what I've done is I've got a list of 7 players who have all played 100 games for Valiant and an above 50% win rate. We'll go around. We'll see if we can guess who they are. No,
so does it have to be for Valiant?
Like only the Valiant games count?
Only Valiant games. So like they had to have been wearing the Wings Out jersey whilst they were winning.
Okay.
So that's what we'll do.
All right.
I think most orgs have more than 7, but Valiant only 7.
Okay. And it has to be like 100 maps?
100 maps, yeah.
Dude, how many fucking maps are in your season? Like, shit.
Are we like taking turns here? Like,
yeah. You can go first. You're the guest.
You start, yeah.
Let's go with space.
Yes. Okay. So easy. 50.9%. So
oh my
god, he's scraped it.
They're going 50. All right. Well, I'll take another game. Like agilities.
Yes, agility is on the list. 50.2%.
Oh my god!
Outrageous scraping.
We didn't agilities rejoin. Was that the bit that maybe dragged him down slightly?
I think a few of these I had to combine stats from multiple seasons. So yeah.
Well, I feel like all of our answers are going to be from this time period, right? So is it?
Yeah.
I don't know if you would have had maybe Fate.
So Fate also made
That's
the
a
list.
winner.
51.2%.
Oh, for top dog so far.
Yeah.
Kariv?
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
that's-
Kariv, one of the best, 55% win rate. So he's actually
Wow.
Sleep god.
the second
Dude, like-
best Valiant player ever.
Like, who was the main support back then? Because like it's got to be them, and I just don't know who it was. I can't
They have
remember
multiple.
anymore. No, I
They
mean, like I've
changed-
given it to Caleb basically, like just a slam dunk for him, because I just can't fucking remember who was playing with Kariv. You know, it's like what hero is it? Oh no, because it was like Costa.
Custer is right. Fifth
Yeah.
most successful
Yeah,
Valiant
yeah.
player
That was
ever.
that was tough. I had to go through the motions. for that one.
4%. So actually pretty good.
We say
I think
54% for Custer?
Yeah, pretty
wow.
good.
I mean,
So-
his era, they were winning a lot, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like that version of the team? Yeah.
We actually only
I
have two left. We haven't even got a wrong guess so far, so we've actually been
Oh, well,
smashing
don't
it.
worry. Let me come
So
in and
we've got
spoil
the
this streak.
number
then.
1 in the LA Valiant history, and then number 7, which is technically bottom of our leaderboard, but still puts him above like hundreds of other players.
I don't know if he would have had enough. I don't think he's going to have had enough games. So I'm going to say soon. I think it won't be enough games.
Easily enough games,
Oh, okay.
173, and he is number 1. So Soon was a 60% win rate. So whenever
wow.
Soon played,
Wow.
they won.
He should have
The
played
60
him more, I feel like.
Yeah, it seems that way. 60% over 173 maps is pretty good going. So Soon is our number 1. And then we have one player who scraped in at exactly 50% and
He's gone
just over
50-50.
100 games.
Just a forgettable non-winner.
Yeah.
Like this is so
I
hard.
think this is the hardest one to get. But you're all tied, right? It's 2-2-2-2, so it's the fucking
It's
perfect
actually like
tiebreaker.
it's sudden death. Whoever gets it,
It's my turn, right?
Yeah.
it's your turn. I don't want to say my thoughts out loud in case I help anybody.
I feel like in the tiebreaker
Just-
scenario, like you should just be able to spew it. You know, like if you've got
Nah,
something.
it's got to. I think it should be turn based. I'm just gonna just keep all your pretend you're UV right now, sitting in the Winthrop facility. You've
have
got
no
all the
cards
offers
to
in your
play
thing.
close. I've got no
tell
information.
anyone. Don't tell anyone. Oh, you're the liar in this situation. You're just sitting there, hoping it will work out.
I'm
Fuck.
liar. Dude, big roster.
There were so many people.
Call me crazy.
Fuck, crazy.
This guy's fucking crazy.
No, there. Is there like a time limit on this? Like, I feel like I gotta guess.
Let's take
Bunny.
longer on this.
Fuck.
I don't think
good
it's
shout.
funny. He was
Not enough games.
Yeah, not enough games, unfortunately. Or
Shit.
wasn't. He didn't make my list for one reason or another. Yeah, only 30 games in season 1.
Wow, I
And
gotta
then
play more than that. I don't
Didn't
know
play
why.
season 2 apparently. So
Ironically, it might actually be quicker to build an entire team for OWCS and get them registered.
It's like Kyle wasn't on that roster, was he?
who's Kyle?
KSF.
That's who I was
Okay.
thinking.
So here's the situation, guys. It is
Oh,
KSF,
no.
but I've just done more research, and actually, I got the stats wrong. He was exactly 50%, but I didn't realize he also played season 3, where he just went under 4 maps under. So KSF was the right answer, but technically also not eligible for the quiz.
So today nobody wins the quiz.
It's a draw.
So fuck, there has to be. All right. Okay, here's
Have a-
what we'll.
Do you have a
Here's what we'll
tiebreaker
do.
up your sleeve?
Can first person to name me someone who played for LA Valiant with a 0% map win rate wins the quiz.
Numlocked.
Apply.
Winner, Numlock. One map, one
Thank you, Seb.
loss.
Thank you, Seb.
Seb! Unbelievable. It was in Gibraltar, wasn't it?
It was Gibraltar. It was like that.
Oh, I remember now.
The B team just came in for one map, and
it was the pity map. Oh,
yeah, the pity map. It was already was it because it was when we played 4 maps, no matter
You
what.
also,
right? So
McGravy, you must have also played that map, right? Because on that same season, you played one map, lost it.
He was a Mayhem back then or something.
no, that was different. That was when I played at Kit Kat Rivalry Weekend.
Because yeah,
They put me up on stage versus Shock, or was it Glads? It was one of the two.
Yeah.
Like we couldn't qualify, and they just threw me up there for shits and giggles.
Nice.
All right then. I feel like it's been a long time since I've won the quiz, so
Congratulations.
I was saving this moment.
Thank you, Numlock.
I knew Numlocked would come through for me in the end. I just had that feeling, you know.
Thank you, Seb.
Former McGravy teammate, Numlocked. Played with him for a little bit.
After I left your team, you remember?
Yeah, it was Chris, and then he ditched me after a week, and I had to get Seb.
Why did you ditch? Was this when your Hammer Esports?
No, mate. Here's what happened with me and Envision and McGravy. I came in. We played against Rogue, who were on like a 70-match win streak. I shot called like I'd never shot called before. Fucking had the game of my life on Winston. Took down the streak and then got an offer to go play in a USO left. That was my fucking highlight as a player.
All right.
And then that was the match where Rogue was like, "Oh, we were playing on laptops."
All that bullshit.
Yeah,
Nico still fucking 8 years ago, still to this day.
Fucking rat.
Still being a rat.
So we can move on to rank the guests.
Well, we're client of the week.
Oh my god, I'm trolling. Coming in with an early client nomination for myself for forgetting to nominate a client of the week.
X is honestly dominant in client of the week.
So where do we want to start? Because there's a load of things, right? So there's some elements of, signing up to OWCS with an underage player or a Russian player or someone who you know is going to break the rules. Especially maybe like Raspberry Racers, right? Because they seeded so high.
Yeah, they probably could have maybe like done it without.
They would have got out probably a top 8 team, right? In theory, if they hadn't have associated with the wrong person, unfortunately.
Yeah,
unfortunately, they're on the wrong side of history.
True.
So probably the entire M80 organization.
Yeah, maybe.
It's hard to say though. I mean, they ended up with a better roster.
I think Viewer is the client of the week, the one that broke the story, because the fact that he broke the story like right before the roster lock, and then he went on to tweet all this shit like, why'd you guys drop the roster? You could have done so much better with your roster. Like, that is full fucking client behavior. And it shows that not only are they a complete fucking moron because they didn't understand the implications that it would have for the team and the organization, it also shows that they just didn't care about the racist stuff anyway. Because clearly they were just in it for clout.
They wanted to sell the team still.
So I reckon it's like a multi-tiered client that we should potentially execute publicly and then,
Well, surely it's one thing to endorse Sam and then not know about this stuff, but to know and actively reveal this stuff and then just be like, "Oh, keep him though." Still a fan.
Why do you think
actually
we've got this combination
of
Yeah, so for sure, Viewer has a good chance. I wanted to throw. I put a tweet in the chat, and I wanted to as always my litmus test of things like this. Is this outrageously this client tweet? Because there was
this is also client of the week potential for sure. Skeng one is like perma just client out of this one.
Because I saw so much discussion about this idea, like a fucking Overwatch manager could like grind and build a team, and now managing is like too easy. Like there was like a skill element removed, but the Overwatch manager is I don't understand it. I had maybe 12, 13 people begging me to be the manager for my fucking team, to book my scrims for me. I do not understand it. Why? Like, what is the incentive to fucking spend 5 minutes a day booking my scrims? Like, I actually don't understand it. And the way this is like, the fucking had to grind to build a better team. Like, has any team ever been carried by a manager in the history of Overwatch? Like, thank God our manager was here to fucking save the day.
Who's the biggest carry manager in Overwatch League history?
Rostermania or something.
No, like general manager is different, right? General manager in Overwatch League,
Yeah,
I think,
it's a lot different.
But like team manager, right?
Yeah,
You know,
manager
like,
in this, especially in tier 2, is just booking scrims and organizing stuff, right?
Because the nature of having no org, in the same way McGravy suffered from having not any sort of actual hierarchy in terms of building the M80 team that would have allowed him to build a better roster. With no org, the manager also has no power, because in reality, the power really sits with the players, right? They want to play with the players who are good, or the players that are their friends. And if that means they have to kill a coach or kill a manager, that manager or coach will be killed first before
100%.
before they consider. Like, if your manager suggests changing a player that you don't want to change, is any team going to go, well, I guess he's the boss, when he's not actually your boss and doesn't pay you any money?
Yeah, so I don't know. The manager, I've been trying to study it because I can't understand the incentive, like why you would spend the time, I guess, just to be part of a team. I guess
Like the off chance that, like, you know, the people feel some sort of loyalty to you, and like if the org will take you on, then you know, maybe make $500 a month. Yeah, I don't know.
There's like a different version if you're maybe something like maybe like a Timeless and EXO, the right example of this, where you're maybe trying to build like a sort of community org, and you're trying to actually, what you're doing is actually starting like a business from the ground
up, GM,
right?
Yeah, like a GM job for like a tier 2.
Like actually trying to start a business, I think makes sense, right? Because it's like there's like a end goal to it, and there's a path upwards, or, you know, even worst case, you at least like do a bit of community building. Ironically, the reason to have a manager, like I think we all probably experienced this our time at Overwatch League, one of the nicest things about having an organization is, did any of you guys have to do anything? I mean, McGravy probably wouldn't have anyway, but for your visa stuff? Or did the org and your manager just sort it out for you? Did all of that stuff just happen?
Flights when you go to LAN, like everything just gets like fucking sorted for you. But like in these like tier 2 ones, like...
Well, actually, what you would have needed is, all this situation where teams got disqualified, what would have been great is if one of these managers had figured out the rules and figured, hey, should we not have Alexi on the roster because, you know, he's not allowed to play? Or do you think it will be a problem if this person's not really 17? Do you think that will ever come back to bite us later in the system? Probably not, right? You know, like, to check this stuff beforehand, that's actually what you want a manager and org support for. So unfortunately, I think a lot of these managers sit in the happy to book scrims because it's like low pressure, can't really go wrong type thing. But when you actually want a manager, is for these difficult situations. But unfortunately, it seems not available in that moment, or not ahead of the curve.
But I'm happy to give it to Viewer just overall. Like, I feel like, I
think like Viewer, just so much exposure this week that like it's kind of hard not to give it to them. But Stream 1 definitely gets an honorable mention because like the grind of making it to tier 1 as a manager when tier 1 collapsed 6 months ago, like, get a fucking grip, bro.
Did it ever really work like that anyway?
I honestly not. I don't know if anyone ever get like a management position.
Nuki kind of did that, you know,
from Hurricane to Spitfire. That's a good shout, actually.
Because I feel like the others got like, actually, I don't know, maybe Albert maybe made it too.
Well, Albert was actually like from the bottom to the top kind of guy, no? Like, what was he, analyst originally on that first season, and then worked his way through the system? Yeah. So maybe it's like not impossible.
Yeah, maybe we're too harsh on managers. But that's what we do. Burn those bridges.
First for casters, then all of Korean tier 2. Now every manager.
Fuck them all.
I still don't want to book scrims, so I need you.
Yeah, I'm the only one in Europe that books scrims. Everyone else has a manager. It's only me.
Yeah. We did it on London as well. You were keen for it.
It's just, I mean, it's just one of those like additional responsibilities. Like, I feel bad to give it to somebody else to not pay them, you know? Like why would I let you be a slave under me? You know, I'm not runner, you know, like I don't treat people like that. So yeah.
It's the same logic most orgs do. Like, when we were at Cloud9, there was probably like an unlimited queue of people who were like, can I work for free? Can I do social media management for free? Can I come and make content for free? Or can I even just sit in scrims, or I'll be, you know, whatever coach for free? But Cloud9 doesn't want to employ anyone for free. They want to pay people for the job, because when you pay someone, you can then actually hold them responsible, and there's accountability for the work. Some sort of like, you guys heard of this like money in exchange for services type system a lot of countries are doing. But when you start having people for free, you then sort of lose that. So yeah.
I think they're still around, actually. I think you can still find someone that wants to come for free and do whatever. I
think they're still around, but I think it's like, yeah.
I mean, isn't Chris's analyst to the Spitfire?
No, for sure. Like, I mean, I had loads of people want to do it. Like, loads of people. I just didn't feel good about doing it. You know, like with Suji, he's actually like really useful to the team. So it's like, if you really want to do it, then I would need you. But
so you're cool with free exploitation as long as they're good at it.
Well,
so the problem was the previous slaves were bad slaves.
And now I've got a good one. So
you only want children working in emerald mines if they actually come back with emeralds at the end of the day, is what I'm hearing. You know, like
what
you don't want
say?
one that dies in a cave collapse. You want one that comes back with rocks in his hand for you.
Well, it seems that I've been called. My bluff has been called here. I'm not as ethical as I thought I was. All right. Viewer, client of the week?
Yeah.
Stamp it. So. I lost my job. Stamp it. Just
stamp it.
Fuck you, viewer.
All right. Now, for real, we can rank the guest. So
I think it's been pretty good. I also we finally did an episode where we didn't talk about the past at all. You know, like I think that's like
the pivot. This is the pivot episode. You know,
yeah. It's gone really well. No, I think this has been like maybe it's been helped by the fact that we had like some nice little drama from M80. So thank you to M80. I think this has been good, and I feel like this bodes well for the future of Uncoachable. That we don't just like rely on people coming on to burn bridges to be able to do content. We can still talk about Overwatch in its current state. So. I feel like I feel like that big free Punk Gumba Gator. I think that's so hard to touch. You know.
I agree. I agree.
I think those are just like. But I'm really happy to go 4th here.
You're happy with 4?
9K?
Yeah, I think so.
You're just full of optimism nowadays, Chrissy. Everything's fucking great in your life. That takes a week or 2 to Germany, and everything is so good. Like, I don't think I've seen you do anything but smile for the past 3 hours. Like,
that's me, just a happy guy living my dream.
Holiday Chris, you know. Fuck it. Put him at 4. Put him at 4. I like his mustache.
Yeah,
let's do it. Put him at 4.
Carried by the mustache
as well.
All right.
No, trust me. If you want to know what it's like to be carried by a mustache, try being me for a couple of years.
9K moving down.
That's okay.
Sorry, 9K.
Sorry.
Hey,
9K.
you got a nice cushy caster job. Okay, listen, like
there's nothing cushy about that shit, dude. That's torturing him day in, day out.
No way that's cushy.
I guess we're going back to the slave labor conversation.
One more combo.
But yeah, I enjoy it. It feels like the community's warming up. There was some initial 9K resistance, I think, from people accuse us of racism, but the real people sitting there saying 9K's English isn't good enough. Maybe they should take a look in the mirror.
Fucking racist.
Racist, man. Sick of them.
McGravy is literally sick of them.
I'm sick of them.
All right. Episode 12.
He's signing off.
He might be dyslexic.